the Centresteer podcast, a podcast by, for, and about Land Rover owners.
Welcome to the Centresteer podcast number 127 for October of 2023. I'm your host, John Costage. Joining me around the virtual campfire this month is Morgan and Harold. Welcome, gentlemen.
Yet another wheelbase-inspired episode number.
We're waiting on Dixon.
Yeah, we're definitely waiting on Dixon. Don't know where he is at the moment. I'm feeling like we need to actually skip the next episode number right to 131, since Land Rover calls the 127 the 130, or did.
Or the 130 is actually 127, yeah.
Right, but that would screw up our listeners and ourselves.
So we're waiting on Dixon. We don't know what's happened to Dixon. He was supposed to join us. Maybe he'll join as we record.
Canada is closed today to the internet.
Centresteer is a monthly podcast for Land Rover enthusiasts, hobbyists, and owners around the world. All of us here at Centresteer are owners enthusiasts ourselves, and we thank you for listening and engaging with us. Special thanks to our Patreon and Buy Me a Tea subscribers for their support. Patreon supporters receive bonus content, including 10 questions, which is a little quick fire, fun question and answer round that we do with most of our guests, and then we post it for our Patreon listeners. So check that out if you want to hear the bonus content.
All of us are enthusiasts and owners, but some of us actually drive our Rovers.
Well, is that a little shot?
Some of us are not operators.
Some of us have functioning Rovers, which we can drive.
Yeah, actually, 3/4 of us do. Myself not included there.
You do, in theory, own most of a Land Rover.
I actually, in theory, own 1.5 Land Rovers right now.
So another 3/4 of one, and you might have enough to put one together.
Yes.
So really, it's just down to time.
Yes, yeah. Time, a little bit of money. Things are not getting less expensive in the Land Rover world. But also
in general,
yes, exactly. In general,
it's time and geography, since your Rover is not adjacent to your residence.
Yes. And I'm still working on that process, trying to improve that situation, because especially this year has just obviously coming out of lockdown and everything, but finally getting to go back to events and it being the 75th, seeing everybody driving their Land Rovers, it has been very motivating to get back to work on that.
Our guest this month is Greg Shondel of Himalaya, a restoration shop out of South Carolina. Greg is a classic Land Rover enthusiast and owner, and he'll tell us about his old goat that he found on Craigslist and about restoration activities at Himalaya. Before we talk with Greg, sort of a field report with Christian HERRMAN, who I met at the Mid-Atlantic Rally this month, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a bit. And Christian is from Switzerland, and he's traveling the Americas. So let's get into events and event recap. I attended MAR this year, which is Mid-Atlantic Rally in Virginia under the Rove Club. Thanks to Harold and adding the reframing, is that the right word? Reframing the 109 and adding parabolic springs. It was a joy to drive the 109 all the way down and back. I feel like Jeff Aronson now. It was a joy to drive the 109.
We've had this discussion about the parabolics a whole bunch of times, and I'm not going to say I told you so, but I did inform you thusly.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You were not wrong. You were not wrong.
This is one of the best improvements you can make to a leaf-sprung Rover.
Typically, for those who don't know, when you're driving a series truck, it's certainly bouncy, and there's a lot of vibration that comes through the steering column into your hands. And as I've said for years, I can drive probably about 4 hours, and then there's about an hour or two after where my hands feel like they're shaking from all the vibration. There was none of that.
You may have stopped driving, but your body had not.
Yes.
And there was none of that this time. All the other things that you have when you're driving a series truck, but not the vibration certainly coming through. And it tracked well, drove well, and that was great. Again, it was a joy. It brought back the joy of driving a series truck.
And that is the point of it, of course.
Indeed. The event was great. The weather turned out to be fantastic for the event, and we were back at Pearls Pond. It's the first time I'd been back to Pearls Pond since they moved back to Pearls Pond, and the trails were pretty good. I got to go out on a couple trails, challenge myself enough to enjoy it with Mark Garcia, who's in the club. Bill Fischel also went down with the club, and we camped together. And Bill, of course, had a problem.
Well, wouldn't be Mar.
It wouldn't be Bill. Yeah, he drove his Series 3 down to the event, and we took it out on the trail, and it stalled. And he thinks the emergency brake locked up, so he couldn't go into reverse. He thinks it had to do with emergency brake, and then it wouldn't go into reverse. And then so we get him going again, give him a little tug. It was locked up in gear, and it mechanically got him into first, get him back to the campsite. And then he started to do some digging and looking and trying to do work. And I guess the pin from the shifter, is it the shifter, dropped into the housing, and then he had to find a magnet to get it back out.
Mm-hmm. It's always something.
It's always something. So he ended up flatbedding it back because it's yeah. I don't know what's the current status, because all Bill after the event said that he got home, and that's all. I haven't heard anything since. So.
I think I heard he got it going again,
Okay.
but
That's good.
I have no details beyond that. So my question to you, since this is the first time back at Pearls Pond in quite some time, and it's actually under new ownership and has a different name now, are the trails the same, or have they cut all new trails?
The trails are the ones that we're familiar with, Harold, from the before days.
The good old days.
The good old days. They're mostly there. The ones
Okay.
we went. You were able to get onto the island and drive around the island. Those were all there, and we did that before Bill's truck broke down. We did drive all around the island. It was all basically greenish type of trails. They're not, you're not going to take a Subaru on them, but they're all decent trails there.
Are they Freelander friendly?
Next question.
Actually, so if you come back on the main part of the property, we did do some of those trails that we had done in the past. I didn't do anything new that I recall from the old days, but one of the trails that did go on, I do remember driving the Freelander on. And I did that trail twice. It was, if you remember where we camped, Harold, and actually where Linda drove the Freelander, I did end up doing that trail, which was like on the other side of where we camped from the road.
And after doing it in the 109, you're thinking, wow, I remember this being much more difficult.
Yeah, yes. And yeah, exactly. And Mark and I went out. So Mark trailered his series truck down, and we got some good footage. He brought his drone, and we went out and did a little challenging, nothing too bad again, because I wanted to drive home, didn't want to cause any damage. We went on a yellow trail, and it had rained the day before. So but it had dried out enough by the time we got out there, but it was still slick, but not super slick. Tried to get around an obstacle and took the bypass, and I got stuck and couldn't back up to get a little more run at it and get a little more juice because it was a right-hand turn up a 45-degree hill, and then there were some roots there. It was wide, but there were roots that you had to bounce over and then go up, I'd say 50 feet, and then make a left-hand turn. Just couldn't make it up that grade. And Mark was able to get around me, go up, and then he had problems. Winched himself up, and then we winched myself out of there.
The 88 is a little more maneuverable in those sorts of situations than the 109.
Yes, and Mark was trailering his vehicle, I remind you.
An aircraft carrier is a bit more maneuverable than a 109.
So it was all around good fun. They had dinner, as they had in the past, had the raffle and the auction, and under this really nice pavilion there. It's a permanent structure, and it's about the same place it was in the past. You may recall, Harold, they put a tent up. This is about the same place, but this is the
rented circus tent. So same circus, different tent.
Yeah. Because of constraints of the ownership there, you can only get so many people on site. So it does feel like you're a little more packed in. So hopefully maybe over in time that will loosen up. But
hence the selling out quickly.
Yes. Yeah, great. Really good time. And the weather, especially on the Saturday, was there. Went down on Friday, came back on Sunday, and the weather on Saturday was just fantastic. It was warm, sunny, and as I said, the rain had happened on that Friday, and it dried out enough, and it was really good. And then nice to see a lot of people that we know in this part of the U.S. that had showed up, and the McKeggs made me breakfast on Sunday. That was nice. So it was nice to see the McKeggs, Nancy and Mike.
It's nice to see Mar doing well as an event, and nice to see we're going back to it.
They've cut a lot of trails in addition to the existing ones, and they also do routine maintenance, keep them going. And there were groups that went out and certainly enjoyed the trails, and all your usual issues, people having problems and getting stuck and getting out, and
that's the whole point of it. It just wouldn't be an event like that without all these things. That's why people go.
There would be nothing to talk about around the campfire afterwards if it went all smooth.
Yeah, there'd be no lies to tell about how easy it was.
That's right. That's right. Other upcoming events if Dixon was able to join the podcast in time, we'll insert that back in with an update. But the upcoming events here in the next several months, certainly in North America, UARI's coming up under Old North State. Massachusetts Rover Club is having their Cape Cod series. And coming up in November is Destination Defender. Land Rover is hosting that for the second time. This is in Somerville, Texas, and it is open to all Defender owners. They're certainly looking for us classic Defender owners to go. I know several people are going. I'm not able to go, but I know others are going. And it looks like that'll be a good time. That'll be it's like central, I think it's out of central Texas-ish, Somerville.
I think it's east central, more towards Houston. I think it's the hot and sticky part of Texas, which is not to be confused with the hot and dry part of Texas.
It's November 10th through the 12th at the Iron Horse Ranch in Somerville, Texas. And I know there are discounts. I still think there are discounts through ANARC and maybe some other folks if you're interested in going and you get this in time. I think it's a weekend pass for free.
Now, I'm curious whether JLR considers series Land Rovers to be Defenders at this point.
They certainly did when they were touting all those statistics about making 2 million Defenders. That was including series truck production.
Oh, they would have had to. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So I think they do, actually. At least I should say they did 5 years ago, but
right.
Think now they actually grudgingly admit legacy Defenders as being Defenders,
Right.
as opposed to just the new ones.
So that's the events coming up here in the next couple months, and we'll have hopefully Dixon will be able to join us next month, give us some more expanded events. So we've put Dixon in charge of tracking events for us.
And our friend and recurring character, Jeff Aronson, is going to the Destination Defender to cover it for Rovers Magazine. And in fact, I think I saw somewhere he has the promotional code for anybody in the Texas Rovers who may be listening and wants to go.
And now for the news. So JLR posts higher than expected sales growth, and the retail volumes exhibited growth in all regions year on year, with overseas sales surging 56%. North America was up 32%, Europe up 16%, the UK up 9%, and China was up 7%. And JLR's order book remained healthy, ending the second quarter with 168,000 client orders. It's a slight reduction from 185 at the end of the first quarter. And notably, high margin models such as the Range Rover Sport and Defender accounted for 77% of the order book. The company also reported an improved model mix year on year, with Range Rover Sports sales soaring 292%. Defender was up 74%, and Discovery was up 75%, and Range Rover up 19%. I guess if you sell 4 Discoveries versus 1,
yeah.
That's actually up 400%, but
yeah, I couldn't do the math that quickly. My apologies.
If you sell 7 instead of 4.
Sales looking good. We'll talk a little more about where the Discovery sits here in an upcoming story. But sales at the moment, things are looking good. Although there are some challenges, and we'll talk about those too in a few minutes in another story.
Challenges, but let's be honest that they have a really good problem right now, that they're selling a lot of vehicles, they're reducing their order book, but they still have a very large book of orders already.
Either they're selling stuff they can't build, which is far better than the other option.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And let's talk about one of those challenges. There are 10,000 cars stuck waiting for parts. So JLR workshops are at a breaking point due to global part shortage, and the firm has exhausted its fleet of courtesy cars. According to the Car Dealer magazine, about 10,000 customer cars across the UK are waiting for parts, and around 5,000 are off the road at dealerships. It's believed the Range Rover Velar is one of the affected models, as is the Discovery. The problems originated in the firm's new parts facility at Mercia Park. In a statement sent to Autocar, JLR said, as we deliver our commitment to become carbon net zero across our supply chain, products, and operations by 2039, we're streamlining parts distribution from multiple locations to one global supercenter. This transition has unfortunately caused some temporary delays to the delivery of parts to our retailers. We're working closely with our distribution partner, Unipart, to quickly resolve the issue and ensure this service returns to normal as soon as possible. JLR anticipates that it will be another 6 weeks before the problems will begin to ease. And JLR was throwing everything, I used air quotes there, resolving the problem. With the UK market said to be the number one priority, it's unclear if other international markets are similarly affected.
So to be clear, this is about service parts to repair vehicles that are already in use, as opposed to what we normally hear, which is the stories of not being able to build things that they're trying to sell. This is stuff they've already sold that needs work now and they can't get parts.
And I do think this is impacting other markets, because if you look at the discussions about the new Defender board, there are people waiting for parts for months and unable to drive their cars. And
how could it not affect all the markets?
Yeah.
Obviously, it makes sense that they're prioritizing the UK, since that's where the vast majority of their vehicles sold are, aside from China. And of course, the other part of it is that they've been devoting a lot of their efforts to catching up the back orders on their high-end models. And from what you just described, a lot of the models waiting for parts are Discoveries and Evokes and stuff like that. Velar. Yes. It does sound like this is mostly a distribution problem, but there must be, if it's a 6-week backlog still that they're working on.
Yeah, it's not just
part of it must be manufacturing.
Yeah, it's not just a problem of getting things aligned in the logistics part of it. It's just a matter of actually producing those parts. Yeah, they've been cannibalizing sales of the slower selling cars for the higher margin cars for at least 2 years now. This is just a continuation, I think, of that.
Reminds me of the import dealer in my hometown back in the day. And when Triumph was in the end of their run of stuff, they had a TR8 there in the showroom for quite a while. And the car sat for maybe a year unsold until somebody decided he wanted it. And then it took them weeks to make it complete and runnable, because they'd been cannibalizing the showroom car so much to keep stuff going through the shop.
All right, next up, car maker unveils 250 million pound electric vehicle test lab. JLR has unveiled a 250 million test facility as part of its plans for the next generation of pure electric models. JLR said the Future Energy Lab at its engineering center in Whitley, Coventry, has key innovations enabling the rapid testing of electric vehicles. The lab is developing electric drive units for JLR's electric Range Rover Defender, Discovery, and Jaguar models. More than 200 EV engineers are already working at the facility. And JLR said a further 150 roles are being created, providing a significant employment boost to the region. So that's, I think the facilities, it's 323,000 square foot facility.
Nice.
Yeah, you could build some stuff in that kind of space.
Yeah. Good that it's in that parts of the UK, because there was an article I saw that I didn't add to this just because it was all of them were behind a paywall, but it's believed that the electric Defender will be built in Slovakia, not in the UK.
Imagine that.
And I like that they call it a rapid development facility, because that's actually something that's a big advantage with electric, is the relative ease that you can swap out components and test new components, and honestly, at this point, a lot of it is software as well. But yeah, that you don't have to do quite as much mating and engineering when it comes to the electric side of things.
Certainly don't have to fabricate any exhaust pipes.
That's true.
A lot less moving parts.
Or recertify the emissions.
Next up is, where does Discovery sit in the line? So this article's from...
$1 billion question we've been asking for quite some time.
Yes. And this was Autocar has an article here, how Land Rover Discovery can be reborn for the EV era. So let me read some of the pertinent points, I think, from this. JLR says it needs to completely reinvent the Discovery for its fourth decade, and it's starting from a clean sheet. However, it is vying for space alongside all the other models. And Autocar says this is a significant task, as we're not surprised to hear. It was hard not to raise an eyebrow when JLR CEO told Autocar in August that one of the company's 4 brand pillars was about to undergo a complete rethink. He said, quote, "The brand equity in Discovery is less today, and lots of people have lots of views on why that might be. They're interesting, but they're only interesting in they are informative about what we do next. We need a dedicated think tank to do that. I'm a great believer in deep and meaningful thinking and giving people the time to do that." And going on, JLR's UK managing director added, "Discovery is an important brand, and it has space in the market, and it has a very loyal customer base. What we're going through now is understanding how we reimagine the Discovery brand. What space will it fill? Sales of the current 7-year-old Discovery, which is radically different to its predecessors, have hardly set the world alight. In the 12 months between March of 2022 and 2023, just over 12,000 units left the facility in Slovakia. By contrast, 75,000 Defenders were sold. The long slide started in 2019 when 41,000 Discoveries were sold. In 2020, the total number was just 33,600. So in a year, it dropped about 7,000.
That's because the new Defender is a much better disco than the Disco.
And I wonder, they say it has loyalty behind the brand, but it seems like that's probably mostly the LR3, LR4, Discovery 3, Discovery 4.
I think you got to say it had loyalty.
Yes.
That's what they call brand
sales
equity.
Would say they don't have loyalty anymore.
Yeah, that's what they call brand equity. The point of all this is that apparently they're doing a clean sheet, starting with a clean page and seeing where they go. But really, it's 4 wheels. It's going to be a large SUV. It's going to fit, 5, 6, 7 people at minimum. Guess what? So does the Range Rover. So does the Defender. What you have Defenders like your everyman kind of a vehicle, and then they add stuff to it to make this super expensive, 6-figure vehicle, and then they've moved Range Rover way up into the luxury status. I think it's really challenging for them to figure out where they're going to put this and how they're going to place it, and what are you going to do to it that makes it that different. And just bumping up the roof line 2 inches or 3 inches to give it that little bump, that's not going to be enough.
And looking at the spy renderings they have there, or whatever you call it, it looks like they've lowered the roof, not raised it.
Yeah, it's a conceptual rendering.
I would
seriously ugly, in my opinion, too. The strip of photos underneath the center picture there on your screen, John, really explains a whole lot.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Jerry's in charge of all design for everything, and that's just, but he's not the only one. But it's not just the design. It's, what are you going to do with it? What capabilities, what features are you going to include in the vehicle in order to get people to buy? What's the audience? And
how do you set it apart from what they already offer?
Yes, that exactly.
Right.
So whether you have that, whether it looks like this conceptual design or not, it all comes down to, what does it offer? And how can you make it different than the current offerings?
And especially since they've expanded the Range Rover line so much, it just seems like the Velar is the direct competition with the Discovery.
Even the Range Rover Sport, to some extent, is Disco competitor.
I think the Range Rover Sport and the Range Rover Velar compete with each other.
They do. I think there's, Range Rover's got so many different offerings that they're losing Range Rover sales to other Range Rovers.
Good luck.
But on the other hand, they're selling. What do you do?
And that really does make a lot of sense why they've switched to having each of the models be its own standalone brand, so that Range Rover can be a dealership competing totally amongst itself, and then they can have other dealerships for Defenders and Range Rovers.
Yeah,
and
just like
like,
General Motors did back in the
Discoveries.
day.
Yeah.
Split the divisions and make them fight with each other.
I suppose one of the things they could do with the Discovery was done with Jaguar is make it's an EV only model. But the problem there is in 5 years or so, or 3 years, you're going to have all electric versions of the Defender and the Range Rover. So you're back to the same problem.
Yep.
That would have been the neat thing to do. Make the Discovery the all electric, but they should have done that 5 years ago, moving into that.
Or go the other direction. Let the Range Rover and Defender go electric and let the Disco be internal combustion only and be the badass division.
Yeah, but then you're gonna then definitely limit sales certainly in certain markets.
Yeah, maybe eventually, but
yeah.
There's a lot of hay to be made in the short term with a kick-ass performance model.
That's why they threw the V8 in the Defender.
Right. Put it in the Disco and turn it up some. It could be the Land Rover that goes to 11.
I think part of what feels the strangest to me is at this point, they're saying, okay, we have to start over from a clean slate, which is what they did with the Defender. And they obviously were successful and are successful with that.
What they did with the
now.
Disco 5.
Yeah.
Think about it. Really, that was a clean sheet. Styling-wise, It was.
Yes. But both with the Disco 5 and the Defender, the Disco 5, actually, the concept was very well received. And so immediately or pretty quickly became the actual or very close to the production Disco 5. But the Defender, their first attempt at a clean slate design was very poorly received. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Absolutely. I don't know that when the Disco 5 came out, it was well received. I disagree with you there. I think it was immediately panned. It's just by then.
There was some pushback because it didn't look enough like a Disco.
But let's add to the conversation here. Another article went on to say, if there's criticism of where JLR is today, it's that all of its cars are extremely polished to the point of lacking any visual drama. That's understandable for the Range Rover, which was born out of pure industrial design, but the Range Rover Sport has lost its edge in pursuit of modernist plush. More of today's range is perhaps too defined. Cars that are dressed very smart casual, where some of them need to look like they are bound for the Arctic Circle, not the dress circle. Less is a bore as the old design maxim goes. While the Defender is clearly far more expressive than its sibling models, it still leaves a way open for the reinvention of Discovery. Inspiration can be drawn from very high-end outdoor equipment. Serious mountaineering and yachting kit offer a wealth of design cues. Think they're saying
with that.
But how does that's still competing with Defender and Range Rover? Okay.
Yeah, but there is a lot more that they could do that's in between the Defender. Like, obviously we all have ideas about what the Defender could have been in terms of being slightly different, but yeah, there is room for it to be unique if they can make it unique.
Yes, we know that, but
right
how?
Now it's just too similar.
How?
And that's what they're going to have to work real hard on.
There is room for it to have its own individuality if they get someone other than Jerry to design it. Jerry gets his mitts on it, it's going to look like everything else Jerry does.
I think that's what this was talking about, how everything has this lacking of visual drama. And maybe that is it. Maybe it's a rangy with some visual drama.
And I dare to say you need a designer who's not British. Go Italian or something else. Really put some flair into it to make it stand out.
Well, we'll continue to watch what happens with the Disco. Hopefully they figure it out soon. Otherwise, I'm in the position where it's just drop it, move on. And you're expanding there's supposed to be a baby Defender coming, so you'll have a Defender Sport. And then you've been expanding the Range Rover line. Speaking of models going out of fashion and out of style, the 2024 Jaguar F-Type ZP Edition is the end of the line. Jaguar said is the last gas-powered sports car it will make. I'm going to read this whole article because it's interesting. It's just from Autoblog. The Jaguar F-Type is going to leave us after the 2024 model year wraps up, but it's not saying goodbye without having a final limited edition model named the F-Type ZP Edition. ZP for our British listeners. The Jaguar will make just 150 of these throughout the 2024 model year. Why ZP? Jaguar says it's a callback to the first race-winning Project ZP E-Type vehicles that were campaigned directly after that model's launch in 1961. There will be 2 specifications for potential owners to choose from. The first is Olton blue paint combined with a red and black interior, and the other is a crystal gray paint with a blue and black interior. Both models will have porcelain white hand-painted racing-style rondelles on the doors. We'll also note that neither of the 2 available exterior paint options have been offered in the F-Type until now. The base car underneath all the appearance extras is an F-Type R, with a 575 horsepower supercharged V8 engine. You'll be able to choose either the coupe or the convertible. And both body styles get unique 20-inch forged steel with ZP etched into them, shrouding black painted calibers. You'll also see ZP Edition branding on the fenders, sill plates, and dashboard. Plus, each vehicle will get one of 150 SV bespoke plaque on the interior. Pricing wasn't detailed by Jaguar, but if you want one, we'd suggest getting in touch with a dealer soon.
There's really like the
certainly going down swinging.
I like this. I really like the rondelles. I'm curious whether they'll be able to sell all of them. So I think it's good that they're like, contact your dealer and get an order in. But
it needs a little something on that rondelle. Being blank like that, it just looks a little naked.
That's where they should put the number.
The number, the edition number, or a big ass growler sticker.
Oh, can't use those anymore, Harold. Come on, can't use those.
They don't, but you could.
I think it's fascinating that they had to hand paint the rondelles.
Yeah, because they're only making 150 of them. They're not going to mess with their whole paint production line. They're going to just do the door, and then it's pretty easy to mask off and shoot the circle as an after production thing. It's sad that it's got that sticker or that plaque that says SV bespoke 1 of 150. Why couldn't they put the number in there? How hard would that be?
Oh, actually put the actual number instead of just saying 1 of 150. Yes, you're a good point. Yeah, give it like a little number.
With the NAS Defenders.
Yeah.
Because the first thing, or the Callaway P38, the first thing people ask is, what's your number?
Yeah. Maybe they will. Maybe this is just the prototype.
I like the color scheme on it, though.
Oh, good.
Yes.
So you'll be getting one, Harold, right? That's the last.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm already on the list.
You've already called the dealer. All right. Next up is the 2023 Range Rover Sport PHEV Motor Trends SUV of the Year review. I'll let you read the full article, but I wanted to read a couple bits of it here. As the future all-electric Range Rover's arrival draws closer, the Range Rover Sport PHEV might be the next big thing. And what a thing it is. Following the Range Rover's redesign in 2022, the Sport arrived similarly overhauled in 2023. Like its more grandiose counterpart did 12 months ago, the Range Rover Sport earns its place among the SUV of the Year finalists, though it proved to be an unexpectedly divisive inclusion. Unlike the gasoline Range Rovers we've assessed previously, this Sport model features an optional plug-in hybrid powertrain. It combines 3-liter turbocharged i6, I guess inline 6, with an electric motor of authoritative acceleration. But the long 51 miles it can travel on battery power is its primary appeal. A quick-charging CCS port, typically used for all electrics, is another rarity among PHEVs. And there's more you can read about that article if you want to check that out. The pros for this, according to Motor Trend: impressive powertrain, exceptional refinement, sleek and stately looks. The cons are limited EV mode operation, which they detail in the article, and not actually so sporty, and peculiar interior arrangements, which seems to be a kind of a Land Rover thing. So that's your Range Rover Sport PHEV.
And I also like that their headline is almost epic.
Almost epic. Next in a Motor Trend also is the 2023 Land Rover Defender 130 SUV of the Year review. Bigger is not always better.
With the best color I've seen.
We saw that
in a while.
And we saw that at color at the Jubilee. That is only for 130s, that kind of crimson red.
I think they call it claret.
Claret, that was it, yes.
What is the interior match with that?
don't know. We'll take a look at the photos and we'll catch up.
Because that would be awesome with a saddle tan or something.
Yes, I would agree. We'll look at that in just a moment here. The 2023 Defender 130 is a tricky one to judge. On the one hand, it potentially improves upon a design and package we previously lauded enough to crown it as our 2021 SUV of the year in the form of the 110. The 130 is more than a foot longer than its 110 and has more room for people and stuff, stretching the existing design into a new body style. This time around, however, the looks don't impress us as much as growing an established design makes the result simply look, well, bigger, not better, and not even quite big enough for all the interior space as we'd like, as we'll get into shortly. And you can read the rest of that article about those details. The pros they have here are technically seats 8, stylishly rugged interior design, feels like you're driving a school bus. The cons, wobbly ride, complicated packaging, feels like you're driving a school bus.
That's what it's going to be used for.
Exactly. So if you want to read more about the 130 after they've had here for a while, these interior, it's all black. Yeah, they missed out.
Yeah, they screwed that one up.
Unless it's an option, maybe you can get, of course, for more money, I'm sure, if you want to have it look pretty
At that rate, there's a shop down the street for more money. You can get whatever you want. I don't care for the way the shifter is mounted on the thing.
That's just all Defenders. They're all that way.
Yeah, I know. I just don't care for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it feels a little
too Honda.
Yeah, I was going to say it feels like Toyota Prius, one of the Hondas, but also I guess you have to do something like that if you're going to have the option in the 90 of having the bench seat in the front. And
I just you can always go old school column shift, but you could just go push button. You don't really need the lever, and having it stick out of the dash like that is just weird.
I wonder how many of the third seat in the front row they've actually sold, because you've heard nothing about that since it came out. And
given how few actually still exist in the legacy Defenders, that's like the first thing people remove.
Impossible in the legacy Defender.
Yeah, you have to be a special person to want to sit there, or even a series truck for that matter. Moving on, Jay Leno tests Raglan's Tesla-powered Land Rover Defender. I'll read a bit of this. There's a whole video you can watch of Jay Leno's garage. It's about, I think, 20 minutes. It's worth checking out to hear more about it, but I'll read you what the text is here. Raglan, company formed by veterans whose mission is converting Land Rover Defenders to run on batteries. One of its conversions, based on an original Defender, featured on a latest episode of Jay Leno's Garage. Raglan's conversions feature a mix of proprietary and Tesla technology for running gear. A single motor is taken from old Teslas and paired with Raglan's own gear set and inverter to suit the Defender, which retains a mechanical four-wheel drive system. The result is peak output of 600 horsepower, 0 to 60 acceleration in about 5 seconds, according to the company. Raglan settings for throttle response have been purposely set to deliver a more linear feel, matching the original driving experience. No, I'm sorry. If you're getting 600 horsepower, that's not matching the original driving experience.
But the linear acceleration is more, as opposed to the typical electric, which is anything but linear.
And it makes sense that they had to build their own transfer case and gearbox.
The vehicle also,
you ain't putting that kind of torque through a stock drivetrain.
No, that's all of them have had to do that. The vehicle also has various driving modes, including ability to switch on and off regenerative braking. The battery is an 85 kilowatt hour unit. Raglan estimates will deliver between a 150 and 200 mile range. To maintain the weight balance of the original vehicle, 75% of the battery is located under the hood and the remainder placed in the vehicle's midsection. It does support DC fast charging, in which case a full charge will require about 90 minutes. So there's your classic Defender turned into an EV. It was pretty cool. And they actually had a conversation. Jay seemed to like it. And it was going fast.
That's why Jay likes it.
Yeah, yes.
Let's be fair. Jay likes to go fast in everything, which makes him the only guy in modern history to get a speeding ticket in a steam-powered vehicle.
Next up, Land Rover Ambulance, as seen on TV, to be sold at auction. So this is a Land Rover ambulance from the 60s. This is obviously in the UK, which has featured in 2 TV series, is to go with the Hammer in Dorset auction. Annie the Ambulance, a 67 Land Rover made by specialist coach builders Herbert Lomas, is expected to be sold between 8,000 and 10,000 pounds at the Charterhouse auction. Constructed with a wooden frame and aluminum-clad body, Annie was treated to a new galvanized chassis and underwent restoration in the mid-2000s. Today, she is a rare survivor and understood to be the sole Herbert Loomis or Lomas. Is it Lomas? Do we know?
Do not know.
A Land Rover civilian ambulance, still operational today and has been partially converted for use as a camper van.
Looks a bit like a short bus.
Yeah. And the design is somewhat similar to what I've seen of some of the UK ice cream vendor trucks built on the series platform as well.
I wonder if those Lomas ones were all part of that coach building.
Could be.
I did check the Charterhouse website. I don't think it's sold because they didn't indicate that, so it may still be available. It was supposed to be on auction on October 5th. There doesn't seem to be an update as to whether it's sold or not, so it may still be available.
10,000 pounds doesn't seem like a lot of money for something like that.
Yeah, the last of its kind, too.
That can sometimes suppress resale because where are you going to find the parts? Gotta love the bumper mounted bell.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's like horn too. There.
It's either horn or lamp. It's hard to tell.
Next, the Moroccan Team Camel Trophy 1997 Land Rover Discovery was up for auction. And that's pretty much all we know because I didn't see any results of whether it's sold or not, but I'll give you just the first two paragraphs to explain it. The vehicle used in the annual Camel Trophy was made and customized by Land Rover. They remain rare. The Land Rover Discovery used in the Moroccan team in 97 Camel Trophy is up for sale. The 97 Camel Trophy was held in Mongolia, and in part because this was unlike most of the previous events, it included some side events, including canoeing, bicycle competition. As a consequence, the Discovery 300 TDI special vehicle custom made for this event are well equipped and serve as an adventure holiday vehicles. Yeah, I think that was the first time they added the kind of the lifestyle activities to the Camel Trophy.
So does this disco come with the canoe and the bicycle?
I don't think this one does.
Because that would be cool.
That's too bad. Yeah.
Yes. But it does have all the things that it had, it was upgraded to, including this apparently cell phone from, or maybe it's a GPS, I don't know. From
looks like a sat phone. It's got that big antenna on the side.
Yeah.
So that would have been.
That's cool.
But I did some digging. I didn't see if it actually sold or not. So I'm not sure what happened with it, but it's a nice looking example there and certainly a cool vehicle.
Yeah.
Is that the Moroccan flag on the side of it?
I'll say yes.
Because if it's the team Morocco, you'd think.
I would say
cool how it starts on the glass and continues across the sheet metal.
Don't remember if that was standard for that event.
I don't think so.
Since I watched that one.
Yeah, I don't think so. That seems to be like a wrap, maybe added extra.
I don't know. That was the era where they started doing interesting things like that. Like
the lifestyle stuff.
I don't remember if they. Yeah, I don't remember if they actually had them parade with their flags like they did in previous ones, or whether they just had those sorts of stickers.
Next up, the Land Rover LR3 is the most underrated overlanding value. This is an article in Road and Track, and it's a fairly lengthy one, but I'm just going to read you one paragraph here that kind of, I think, sums up at least what the author, Mac Hogan, had to say. These are the things that turn a truck into a companion, not a toy. An LR3 is not just capable, it's built with real use in mind. It's got room to sleep in, a giant cargo area, serious hauling capacity, and a split folding tailgate. Its seats support all-day endurance. Its doors are double sealed to keep out dust and water. It will break, of course, but you rarely hear stories of these things stranding people. They will not only get you there, they will make you feel secure along the way. You won't just sleep in one, you'll sleep well.
I have a hard time getting past the first paragraph in that story where he talks about he caught the bug as a kid because there was a Discovery 2 on his walk home from school. Man, I was like way into my adulthood when I bought a D2. How young is this guy? Wow.
This is the generation where the Disco 2 is the new series. Although I think we've passed that, and now
I think the D1
LR3 is the new series.
I think the D1 made a better series truck than any other Disco, and almost in some ways better than the series. But
so I think this is a nice article to read because it does. There's been this thinking about the LR3 being Disco 3 being a maybe more reliable and capable than people had given it originally credit for.
Yeah, I think especially compared to the Disco 2, like it's turned out to be far more reliable. Certainly still some issues with air systems and stuff like that, but overall it's been more reliable than expected, especially in the older age now.
And that was the point of it. It was meant to be a departure from the reliability issues of the D2, hence the goofy name.
Here in the U.S.
Yeah, because, yeah, exactly.
Everyone else, they kept D3, Disco 3.
That's because in the UK, They were used to British electrics.
The British just expect things to be wrong, and it's fine.
So if you're thinking maybe about buying a used old LR3, it's a good article to read and check out. It gives you a sense of maybe what owning it might be like, or if you're considering one. And I know people seem to be considering, they seem to be the vehicle of choice almost anymore. They've reached that age. It's true, because the first one came out in 2005. So we're rapidly coming up on 20 years since that's been out, since it first came out.
And so they've become cheap and plentiful to a certain extent.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Although I believe the 2005 is the one of them to avoid, even though they're overall probably more reliable. I think there still are specific models.
Generally speaking, you want to avoid the first production year of any new model.
And speaking of the Disco 3, Jalopnik took one around the Nuremberg Ring. And I think the title here says it all. Don't take your Land Rover LR3 around the Nuremberg Ring. There's almost a 15-minute video of them going around the Nuremberg Ring. It's fun to watch. No one dies. There's no injuries. Nothing bad happens. The vehicle does get to, I think it's almost 100 miles an hour at one point, but mostly it's going about 40. It's a fun time. It's a fun time.
I think they say don't take an LR3 around the ring, but I'd rather drive an LR3 around the ring, or a Disco 3 than a transit van, and that's been done.
Yes.
Right. Yeah,
it's fun. And they packed everybody into this. There's 7 people in this thing.
Yeah, it's a party bus.
It is.
Yeah.
And next in Freelander news, as they come up, we have to bring you Freelander news. There is some
of us do.
It's important part of the podcast.
Okay, if you say so, boss.
2003 Land Rover Freelander SE3 was available on Bring a Trailer, and it sold for $10,750, which to me is way more than I would have thought. Give you a paragraph here on it. This
really kills the maintenance and repair budget.
Yes. This 2003.
You know the parts are unavailable. It looks like a showpiece, so you buy it as a showpiece.
This 2003 Freelander SE3 remained registered to its original owner in Connecticut until being acquired by the seller in 2023. It has 37,000 miles. It's finished in Borrego yellow over black technical fabric and is powered by a 2.5-liter V6, driving all 4 wheels through 5-speed automatic transmission. Equipment includes a removable rear hardtop. That's the SE3 part. Glass roof panels along with a front brush guard, running boards, roof rails, 6-spoke 17-inch alloy wheels, woven floor mats, air conditioning, a factory CD stereo, HERRMAN Kardon sound system. This Freelander is offered in Connecticut at no reserve and manufacturer's literature, service records, 2 keys, clean Carfax report, and a Vermont registration in the seller's name. But it did sell.
Yeah, I saw the Vermont plates and I was like, huh. I wonder where it is, but yeah.
We tried to get our friend Nick Danger, who lives in Connecticut, to go over and get that.
Well, he had
a little too rich for his blood.
Yeah. His Freelander was in fact exactly this. It was an SE3, but his was black. Whoever bought it, let us know. We want to know.
Yeah.
And what are they doing with it?
It's a 1-to-1 scale die-cast collectible.
And next up, the Rebel Rally took place this past month in October, and a couple of cool things came out of that. First, there was, 4 Land Rovers did compete in the Rebel Rally, including friends of the podcast over at the Under Power Hour. They put a team in, and they competed in they were originally going to compete in a Classic Defender, but they were donated a brand new Defender 130. And
I believe the legal term is loaned.
Loaned, thank you. Thank you. They were loaned by JLR, a Defender 130. So they competed. Liza Barris and Jenna Fribley, they competed. They were team number 155, and they competed in a 2023 Land Rover Defender. They came in 8th overall out of, I need to scroll down to see how many total people competed. There were 55. It came in 8th. So congratulations to Liza and Jenna.
We should add that they were the top placing Land Rover of the 4.
Excellent. Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Yes.
Yes. And then a 130, no less, too.
Yeah, nice to be in the top 10. Very nice to have the 130. I wonder how they used any of the Land Rover, the Defender's controls without accessing accidentally the navigation system.
Yeah, because as I understand it, they tape over the nav screen, which is also the screen for controlling all the other features.
They have a third party that rides along and puts their hand over any
That was it.
information.
That was it. There you go.
A sensor.
Yes. That's what the middle seat is for.
There you go.
Yeah, the middle seat makes sense. They have a proctor to go with you and sit in the middle and say, oh, you can't look at that. Sorry, I got to put some tape over that part.
I
Well,
mean,
they
how
either
hard,
put their
how
hand
hard
over
would it
the
be to go behind the dash and just unplug the antenna for the sat nav?
You would think, but who knows what that does to everything else in the system.
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I can't boot up. I don't have GPS service.
Yeah, it makes the air conditioning stop working, and it makes the engine puke all its oil on the ground.
I wonder, can you disable over-the-air updates while you're in the middle of the Rebel Rally? That would be funny. You have a scheduled software update. You must do it now, but I'm in the middle of doing a technical challenge. I'm sure you can push that off, but still, that's funny.
Actually, I kind of wonder if, since this was loaned by Land Rover, whether they had the ability to put some custom software on it that disabled the sat nav system.
Good question. There we go. Over you, Under Power Hour. What happened? Look what went on. And congratulations to the winning team of Lillian Macarasso and Andrea Anderson in a 2023 Rivian R1T. That's the truck version. And it's the all-electric vehicle, and it came in first. And it beat a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 4xe, which is also an all-electric vehicle.
Yeah, it's very interesting that the electrics did so well. I'm curious. Obviously, this is very much more a driver navigation task, but very interesting to see what advantages those drivers saw. And also, just personally, I'm disappointed that Land Rover doesn't have an all-electric already that could have taken that first place.
Or at least filled out the podium. Could be an all-electric podium at that rate.
Dude, they have problems making sure that they have the sunglass holder cases available in all their trucks. Yeah, they're going to have problems getting an all-electric vehicle to the Rebel.
It just feels like it should have, of all the other adventure-related events over the years, Land Rover tend to push the envelope there, and electric should have been an area that they were in long ago. Just my feeling on the topic.
Oh, absolutely. But this is Land Rover's historic problem of they have limited amount of development money. Every company does, but I think Land Rover's even more affected by limited amount of money to put into development. They were just lucky to get a new Defender going.
And to be honest, what resources they do have, I'd rather have them investing that in first making sure the window switches don't stop working, let alone the electric drivetrain.
And also, they're not at a point where they can buy Buick's old electric drivetrain system
There you go.
to start using.
From the
There
30s. We put this engine to bed because we didn't like it and didn't think it was going to work for us, and we moved on. Sure, Land Rover will sell it to you. Absolutely. You guys use it.
But to be fair, Rover wasn't the only one doing that. Like all the Rolls-Royce high-end stuff was old Oldsmobile and Cadillac powertrains.
So a little more on the Rivian that won. The Rivian RT1, which was nicknamed Timmy, is actually considered a bone stock, meaning nothing aside from its tires were changed on the vehicle that would affect its performance. However, the team, both of whom work for Rivian, made a number of modifications to the interior to keep them organized during the event. So Anderson is a senior mechanical engineer at Rivian, designed a number of items that her coworkers helped bring to life, including inserts for secure storage on a 5-gallon water jug.
It's interesting to take part of the, okay, sorry, you just interrupted me by scrolling down on the screen and showing the box van that the Rivian is plugged into. So nice that they have a mobile recharging.
Of course, it says here the Rebel Rally brings competitors far from established charging stations or gas stations for that matter. Rebel has partnered with companies like Pennzoil for gas, renewable innovations for green hydrogen. What does green hydrogen have to do with charging in an EV? Apparently they use that to charge with a truck and charge the electric vehicles.
Interesting.
They got to do something because they're not exactly on grid right there. They can't just plug into the wall.
Yeah.
And
it's not like they have a week to stop over and charge off of solar.
It says here, it took years to find the right partner, build out the infrastructure, and secure the 800 kilograms of green hydrogen required for the 10-day event. Today, there are 4 charge points available to competitors. These chargers are tailored out to spots along the course for driving team EVs. Oh, so they actually, sounds like they made a push to go to the EVs and helped with the infrastructure.
And they thought about the infrastructure instead of just, oh, we need to recharge, run down to Harbor Freight and grab some 6-horse generators.
Yeah, exactly. It is interesting that obviously this was in the bone stock competition, but they did interior customization to make it more efficient. And that's obviously something that has to happen amongst all the teams, because this is so much a planning and navigation rally that being efficient in your processes is very important.
Yeah, I think it's more important
to hear that aspect of it.
I think it's more important than durability and absolute capability, because it is a navigation event. It's not the King of Hammers.
And very similar to general rally racing, where it's very much down to the organization and the communication of the team members. Driver skill, obviously, but yeah, it's much more than that.
In the Rivian article goes on to talk about the other modifications that were made and resulted in over-the-air software updates that Rivian added to, I think, sounds like all their models, but that sounds like since the team worked for Rivian, it made it a little easier. They updated Rivian's over-the-air software update, added a gauge view, which adapts each drive mode and gives real-time information about the vehicle's battery, motor temperature, torque, steering angle, pitch roll, and tire pressure. So it sounds like they were getting feedback from the teams involved, so they could then make changes to the vehicle, which is maybe that's what Land Rover was hoping to get out of the Under Power Hour team.
It will be good to hear from them, to hear what customizations, if any, Land Rover did provide in the software user interface, because really that's the equivalent of adding gauge pods so that you can really monitor all the systems. And that's the really only reasonable way to do that with the super modern vehicle.
And we'll end the news on some, not the best news, but the Defender Service Awards were voted on up until October 4th. And we were pushing for the Allegheny Mountain Rescue Group here in Western Pennsylvania. They haven't announced the winners, but we do know that the Allegheny Mountain Rescue Group did not win their category. So it's unfortunate.
Which means they'll be eligible for the bonus category next year?
I believe so. I believe that to be the case. Not 100% sure. But the Defender Service Awards will be announced at the Destination Defender event, which will take place November 10th through the 12th at Iron Horse Ranch in Somerville, Texas. And that's when they'll announce all those winners. We just know that who we were pushing for here, Harold and I, didn't make it. So apparently we didn't vote enough. But congratulations to all the winners that did win. And that's the news for October 2023. And now welcome to the Centresteer podcast, Christian HERRMAN. Christian, you're from Switzerland, and I met you at the MAR this year in Virginia. And so I wanted to get you on the program because you're traveling the world in your own Defender 110. I think it's a 1999. So welcome to the program first.
Yes.
Tell us about your Defender.
My Defender, it's a 2.5 liter diesel TD5 from 1999. I built this for an overlanding vehicle. I think it's 1,000 hours works in this vehicle. I make the engine, the gear, the chassis. I build the kitchen. I make the electric, yes, and the pickup roof, yes.
Wow. So you outfitted it for overlanding then. You have a kitchen, so that sounds similar to Doormobile. And you did all the work yourself?
Yes.
Including the pop-up roof, you did that yourself?
No, the frame, it's from a firma in Germany. But
okay.
But only the frame. I cannot alloy welding. I can steel welding, but not alloy. Yeah.
Okay.
So you've added to the kitchen. You added a pop-up to sleep in, I take it, for the roof. Did you do anything mechanical, or did you upgrade the springs or anything like that?
Oh, the springs, the dampers, the clutch, the cooler, the solar engine, Yeah, I must make a video from this car. It's a Swiss knife tool.
We're all jealous because it's a TD5 and we don't get TD5s here in the US.
Next year we get the TD5.
Yeah. TD5, it's okay. It's good for travel. I before have a 110 V8 and a lot of gasoline, and it's too old for traveling.
Oh, you're never too old.
No, when you must have parts for a V8.
Here in this country, that's not a problem. V8 parts are easy to get. But...
Yeah, I think so. But I rebuilt the V8 engine totally, and I must many times wait from a new crankshaft, prop shaft, cylinders, carburetor. I learned many from Land Rover when I rebuilt a V8. Yeah.
Any other overlanding modifications did you make to your TD5?
I have good springs and very good dampers. I can change hard or not hard. These dampers have a reservoir. When you go to, I am 3 times on the Sahara with my Land Rover, and when you drive the piste, the damper will hot, and you must have a reservoir. And you have an optionally tank. You have more weight, so you can a longer time drive. I have zero cost. Oh, my English. Oh.
You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
The first time I go to Sahara, I have jerry cans, 4 or 5 jerry cans, and that it's not good for my backbone. And I have tank too.
Yeah, those jerry cans get heavy when you have them up on the roof. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's not good on the roof.
Is the Sahara the first time you overlanded? What's your overlanding history? How did you get started in overlanding?
Switzerland. I started in Switzerland. You must learn, go step by step. And so I go hike, and I have a little kitchen, only the gas cooker and the cooler, and it's not good. This must go faster. I must go not a tent. It's too long, and I built a roof tent. And then I go to Poland, Mazursky, Russian, Kaliningrad.
Oh wow! I don't think I've ever known anyone who's been to Kaliningrad.
Yeah, it's nice, no?
Yeah.
And then Italy, and then I go to Sahara 3 times. In 19, and 20, I go to Sahara. Yeah. And this year I go to the West Alps. It's wonderful. You can go from Switzerland to French, to over the mountain, go to the Italy, over the mountain, go to the French, and on the middle Mittelmeer.
Was that the Pyrenees, I think?
Pyrenees? No, Pyrenees is Monaco. Okay. When you see the Switzerland on the map, you go to the south, over mountains. Yeah.
That's all Alps, is it not?
Alps, yeah, West Alps. Yeah.
That's right. Have you been into East Europe? My family background is Bulgarian and Macedonian, so I'm always curious if folks have been to Bulgaria or Macedonia.
Mit Overlanding. No.
Yeah. I hear that Croatia is wonderful to travel through. The Dalmatian coast is supposed to be spectacular and very beautiful.
Yes, yeah. I think so.
Is this 99 Defender, is that your first Land Rover?
Land Rover, the second. My first Land Rover, it's the V8, the 110, from 1988. And before I have 2 Range Rovers. And you like a Defender or you like not a Defender. It's not a middle. Yes. It's not an easily car. It's a diva. Yeah, you have money or you can build self. It's not a middle. It's not a middle. And when you build self, you must anytime under the car and look, and when you dropped the oil, it's not a problem. When no more dropped the oil, then I have a problem.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. Yes. If it's leaking, it's fine. If it's not leaking, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's either leaking or it's empty.
Yeah.
How did you obtain your first Land Rover? Was that Range Rover was the first one? What year was that?
A 3.5 liter Range, 3.5 liter from 1990, I think so. The 98 1989. So
It's a classic.
yeah, classics. Yes,
Yeah.
only classics. Yeah.
Yes.
And that is a good vehicle. It's yeah. And then after I buy the 3.9 liter Vogue, same the classics, but I have a lot of problems with electric, with the link pads and
Lots of electrics on the Range Rovers.
no, electric, it's not good. When you go in the Sahara and have a lot of dust, and the dust go all.
Everywhere. Dust goes everywhere. Yes.
Electric in the ears. My dog is white, and when you go Sahara, it's not more white. It's the same.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. I'm sure you find dust in your socks and in your underwear. It gets everywhere. Yes.
Yeah, when you can clean, and you find everything.
What year, this 99 Range Rover Classic that you had, did you buy that new or was it used?
No, not you. No, Occasion. No. Was ist, das ist, no. I was buy this in 2003. I buy this.
Gotcha. And are you a car person? Do you like cars? And
yes.
Okay. And how did you discover Land Rover? Why did you end up buying your first Range Rover?
The first Range Rover I bought 2000.
Okay.
Before I have Toyota, was ist das? Hilux, huh?
Oh, yeah,
Toyota.
Hilux. Oh, very nice. We don't
It's good.
Yeah.
But the seat, it's too not so high, and it's
not so luxe.
Yeah, the Hilux, it's not. It's okay for 2 years, but no. I have people from Defender. It's okay.
Friends don't let friends drive Toyotas.
When I go to the Sahara, you see a group from another people, and 2 have Land Rovers and 2 have Toyotas. And the Toyota people, you can sit on the fire in the evening and they say nothing. It's a good day. Yes, it's a good day. And with the Land Rover people can say, oh, we have a problem with the crank, with the half shaft. Oh, yes, we make to this. It's if any time can talk. With the Toyota men, it's not so. It's introverted. Yeah.
They're boring, just like the vehicles they drive.
Did your family have cars, or did you grow up with automobiles or traveling in a vehicle?
My family, I have a daughter, but they're not traveling. See, my daughter is 25 years old and have a daughter, because I'm a grandfather.
Ah, congratulations.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. With 38 years, I am a grandfather. But I am father mid 19. I'm early, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not a problem. And my girlfriend after the marriage travel with me. It's okay.
Oh, nice. All right. So the 2 of you traveled. Did she join you in the Sahara or into Italy or Kaliningrad?
Yep.
Nice.
With my dog and my girlfriend. That's I'm alone. That's life. But I have my dog, and it's okay.
So how did you find yourself coming to America? What was is this part of just traveling the world and it was time to come to North America?
It's an interesting question. Also, I will go to South America. That is my first priority, that I will see. And you must have a container from Hamburg to Montreal and Montevideo, Uruguay. Huh? It's 5,500 Swiss bucks. It's okay. You cannot Roro. It's not safe. Huh? South America. Okay. My flight, it's 1,000 or 1,500 Swiss bucks. And that is not a joke. My dog, you see my dog? It's a big dog. Huh?
Yes.
A big dog. 70,000 Swiss bucks. It's not a joke.
Wow.
70,000 Swiss bucks. And oh no, I shoot myself. No, that's not true. And this the first offer. The second offer is 12,000 Swiss bucks. And I think with the ship, but for a ship, it's too big. And only the ship who can from England to New York is the one and only ship Queen Mary 2. All another ships, not docks. Good. But it's too big.
Oh,
then
wow. So it's too big to get on a normal transport. Yeah. Okay.
No, normal transport, genau. And then I think I go to Iraq, Iran. But it's the problem with immatriculation from the cars. It's the iron or the iron people on the toll. say, the car's 20,000 Swiss francs, give me formal more, also gave me 100,000. That it's normally when you was immatriculation. And no, I make nothing, not this. Also, then I have 1 year time for the plane to my travel. And I have many connections. And the cheapest is when I flight my dog from Frankfurt with Lufthansa Cargo to Montreal.
So you flew your vehicle over?
No, the dog.
No, only the dog. The dog, it's 3,500 Swiss bucks. It's okay. It's not 70,000. My car is very cheaper. When I can go give my key from the car, you see the ferry, it's safe from Hamburg to Halifax. It's safe and 2,500 Swiss bucks, and my flight is 900 Swiss bucks. Okay, then I go not from South America to North, I go from North to South.
So what I'm taking away is that it's easier and cheaper to ship a Land Rover than it is to ship a dog.
Yeah, but the problem is the dog, it's too big from a normally airplane. And then must flight with cargo. What's the price from an elephant or a horse? But it's climatized and it's okay. And my dog is my best friend. And
you do what you have to do for your family sometimes.
So where did you arrive in North America? You came into Montreal?
Yes, I started landing in Halifax with my airplane on September 3. And my Land Rover started on September the 5th. And Tarek, my dog, come on 15 September on Montreal. It's a long way from Halifax to Montreal, and I looked Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. It's a lot of trees.
Yes.
And I got Quebec and whale watching. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Quebec is fantastic.
And then I go to Overland. What is it here? Ottawa Land Rovers have anniversary for 40 years. And I go this. It's perfect.
Yep. So you found yourself in Virginia and you went to Mar and you hooked up with a bunch of fellow Land Rover owners.
Yes. I found the Land Rovers on the website. And I talk with David Schott.
Yes.
On the email. And they say, oh, no, it's 200 vehicles. It's closed. But you can come if you are an interested man. It's like, oh, thank you.
That sounds like David Short. Yep. Because you're traveling overland, gave you some special consideration to attend. It was good.
Yep.
So where are you headed to next?
I go to Kentucky. I will see the big machine gun shoot from Knob Creek. Yeah. Yeah, Switzerland, we have a lot of guns, and I will not shoot. It's too high expensive. But when you shoot a Gatling gun with 4,000 rounds per minute, I can change my travel.
Right.
I will see, and I will see the very good barbecue from America. I make barbecue himself in Switzerland. I built a smoker. And Tennessee, Nashville, Knoxville. Then I go after this. It's a bit cool, huh? Grand Canyon, Bryce Canyon, yes?
Yes. Oh, yeah. You should get to Arches National Park. I highly recommend that part. That's basically north of the Grand Canyon. You're going to head south through Mexico?
Yes. I must go from the USA on December 22. Yes, and I go to Mexico, Baja.
And then through Baja, you want to make it down to Tierra del Fuego, or is that as far south?
No. I don't know it. I will see.
Okay. Lots of folks and even in Land Rovers have traveled from all the way down to South America and also north back up. So that has happened. It's just the part is getting through the Darien Gap, which is the little land bridge. Yeah, that's the trouble. That's one of the troublesome spots.
Yeah. I think I built self a street, but that's the problem. It's the narcos and the poison insects, and no, it's not good. But I have time, and the time it's a treasure, huh? Right. Time it's a treasure, and I don't know. When I shipping from Panama to Cartagena, it's the same price from Hamburg to Halifax. It's not a joke. Oh, but I have time. I don't know. I will self about. That's I am here, and I look when I in Panama.
Yeah, there was a couple from Austria who've traveled the route that you're talking about, and I think they did ship their vehicle, or maybe they got to Mexico because it was during the pandemic, and they got to Mexico and they end up stopping in Mexico for a number of months, and then had the vehicle shipped back to Austria. Then what's the plan after you do South America? Do you plan to return to Switzerland, or are you going to go travel some other places?
I don't know.
Oh, that's fair.
The way it's open, I don't know.
Yeah,
I have friends. I have friends in Peru. I will see. And when my dog it's 8 years old, and the lifetime it's 10 or 12 years, and I have many skills and traits, and I have 4. Was ist der Name? I can help the humanitarian help, health network, or work in a hospital, or I help them on a farm. And I must have a little bit diesel and a little bit eat and food, and that's enough. So.
And you're good. Yeah. That sounds like a typical overlander. As long as you have fuel, food, and for the vehicle and yourself.
Will work for diesel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have other Land Rovers besides the 110?
The V8 I for sale. With this money I can go to travel now. I have nothing more in Switzerland.
Okay.
Nothing more. I have all for sale. Yeah.
Is it fair to say you're living in your home? You're driving your home. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
Since you mentioned your dog is very large and white, what breed is your dog?
My dog, it's a Great Pyrenees.
Excellent.
I'm sorry, Great what?
Very nice.
Great Pyrenees.
Great Pyrenees. Oh, okay.
Great Pyrenees.
Yes.
I see.
So the type that Valdi keeps getting mistaken as.
Yes, that is correct. I have a golden retriever who's also very white and has lots of hair, and people think he's a Great Pyrenees, but he's not.
Morgan used to have a husky that was also
used to have a
very white.
Yes, Siberian Husky, and my younger sister had a Great Pyrenees, so very familiar with them. He must take up the entire bottom portion of the Land Rover when you are sleeping.
I have a lot of. You can see that it's all for my dog.
The video is not on, sir.
Oh, I don't know it.
Yes.
Oh, yes. There we go. So now we're seeing. Now we see the back of the 110.
It looks like it's almost enough room for the dog.
And that's it. Nothing else.
Oh, yes. Yes. I have only here. Oh,
there he is.
Yeah, can you give us a tour of the 110 since we have the video on now? You looks like you have the back and an awning, and so left-hand drive. Mm-hmm.
No navigation, and it's InReach, huh?
Yeah.
InReach for satellite, for SMS or SOS, it's perfect.
Oh, wonderful.
You see, I have USB,
yes,
electric, and I can have the differential, sperre, the compressor for air.
Compressor, sure. Air compressor, yes.
Air compressor, genau.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. HERRMAN. It's a very good seat.
Oh, that does look nice. Those are definitely not original Defender seats.
No,
not so much.
I have 2 batteries. The first battery, it's for start the engine and the winch. So,
is the second battery run off the engine, or is it solar powered?
No, the first battery, it's from the alternator, and I have an intelligent battery system. The first battery load, the second battery, it's only for my fridge.
Yes.
Good. And the problem, it's the fuse. To have normally fused for the car, and I make as
so you've cut into the seat box on the side, added an additional fuse set area. Yeah, nice.
Looks neat and tidy.
That does.
I built self, so
little DIY fuse box there, and easily accessible.
Yeah.
Did you make it watertight?
Yeah. So, water.
Oh yeah. Oh, so you have a spigot for water. Look at that.
Two tanks.
2 tanks. Okay, for clean drinking water.
Selecting the first. This is a fridge, huh?
Yep. You a nice fridge there. Sure.
This is the air compressor.
Right.
And that is the air heat. The I can heat my vehicle.
So it's an additional heater to, it's a spare. Okay. So I guess when the vehicle stopped, and you're sleeping at night, you can heat up the inside.
Yep. When it's cold. Go to an air tank.
Oh, under the truck. Okay.
When I must have flow. With a little compressor, you cannot make flow.
Yeah.
Not for very long, no.
Also, the fridge slides out on a rail. Very nice. Look at that.
Oh,
and then you have...
There's the kitchen.
And there's your kitchen. You've got storage on those slide-out...
No, it's a store for the kitchen, not the kitchen. No, the kitchen, it's
your storage.
Storage, genau.
Yes. Pots and pans. You've got food. That's a nice design. I've not seen anybody put it off the side of the vehicle before in the back seat and slide it out. That's original.
My kitchen, it's here.
Yeah, I'm just narrating for listeners who will be listening. You're on the side of the vehicle. You've got a tray.
Before I make the kitchen open, you see I have a little bit.
Oh, yes. You have the rear quarter panel. You have that. I think the Wolves did that. They had a storage area there. Nice.
Yeah, that's but I will not in my car the gasoline from my cooker. It was outside. It's not so good for the nose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you put extra gasoline on the outside, fuel, right? Yeah, you don't want to breathe that stuff.
It's solar engine.
Okay. So you have two connectors on the outside of the vehicle for looks like electricity and
my Land Rover stand a longer time in Switzerland. I can 230 volts inside.
Okay.
Go to the battery. Aber in USA, you have 120 volts, or not 200.
We have both, but it's a special provision for the 220. The normal house current is 120.
Yeah, das Bergzeug, das kann ich da unten rein.
Oh, nice. So you got a shelf on
the containers make drawers.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, so you open up the side where the back windows would normally be. There's a tray, and then you pull out your kitchen storage, and then some of them can hook and slide underneath the tray for storage. Nice. Look at that. And then you have your cooker, and immediately, then a little shelf comes out from under the fridge. So you have cutting boards and
that fridge shelf pulled all the way out with the storage drawers and everything. It makes an L-shaped kitchen that's full size.
I have knives. I have spicy and focus.
We would call that very ergonomic.
and here I have my table.
Okay. Oh, that's a good idea. On the back of the Defender on the floor, you have a table that slides out from under the floor.
And this is the half shaft, huh? You understand me?
Prop shaft?
Spare drive shaft.
Yeah. All half shaft. For my drive, it's inside.
You're carrying spares inside the vehicle. Good job.
So, you see, I have all places.
Did you make all of this? Since you're a carpenter and you designed it, very nice.
I am my best friend. It's a gun builder, huh? And guns. A lot of guns. It's okay, but I start with the forging and forging. It's cool, huh? And then I forged knives for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nice. And I have many tools. Yeah, and you must have when you will build this, huh?
Yeah. So where's the dog?
The dog?
Yes. Is he around? I missed him, I think, if you showed him before. Oh, there he is.
Oh, yes.
Oh, they're a good dog. Very nice. I guess he enjoys traveling in the Defender?
Yes.
Does he ride up front in the passenger seat?
He was trying to drive earlier.
It's
an awning. We would call that an awning.
Awning, that's perfect.
Does it come all the way around to the back of the vehicle from the side?
270 degrees.
Nice. Yes.
This is perfect. It's perfect.
Yes.
It's from Aerocat. It's a good one.
Your sand ladders there on the side of the vehicle. Easy to get to.
Inside, it's Land Rover parts.
Tools and parts. Okay. Gotcha.
Gotta have those.
Important.
And.
Oh, okay. So that's the back seat. So you open up the back door, and then that's where your storage. You have more storage in the slide for the kitchen supplies. Okay, nice.
There's a solar panel.
Oh, you have a solar panel in there you can pull out.
Solar panel. Then I have, you see, then I can, it's the heating.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's your internal heating. Okay.
And I can make, I have
An
inverter
inverter.
for 240 volts.
Right.
I can load my flex, my drill engine. Yes.
Excellent.
My chase.
Very helpful. Very
Yeah,
helpful. Yeah. And a passenger seat. What's, you've got.
This is my passions. It's the dog food and I come hike and
all the important things.
Yeah.
And dort muss man jetzt mit reinschieben.
Yeah, I like the use of the gull wings for the rear storage for the kitchen, and then also storing the counter space on top of the gull wing, because it makes the gull wing access a little more secure as well.
For fire?
Yep. You have fire extinguisher.
Yes, and it's electric.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
My little drone, it's medical, antibioticum, and so for water, and it's for blood pressure, tourniquet, and
you've got medical supplies and first aid.
Yes, I have infusion and adrenaline, and too many.
Yeah.
Too many.
You have a mobile hospital.
A little.
Well,
Yes.
you do have the capability. So you being a nurse.
Better have as when you must broken. Yeah.
You certainly seem to have thought that out very well, because everything seems to be well positioned and placed, and everything has a place for it, a fit for purpose, as the British would say. Can people follow you on your journey? Do you post to a website or Facebook or Instagram?
I have a YouTube channel.
Excellent.
But it's a little YouTube channel, and I must and talk only in Swiss language, but I think I must talk in English. Yes.
Can you email me the?
Yeah, email it's better.
We'll find it.
We'll put it up on the website for our listeners who want to check you out.
Yes, I'm sure that we have some listeners who would be very happy to listen to it in Swiss German.
And we have others who might want to just look at the pictures and see your truck and how you have it laid out.
It's okay.
And you can also use Google Translate and try to help yourself.
Yeah, Google Translate is perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go. We'll learn German by watching your videos.
Christian, I want to thank you for talking with us today and telling us about your truck and telling us about your journey. And we look forward to keeping in touch with you and finding out where you're going.
Thank you very much for the interview. It's cool. Thank you. Good travels.
Thanks, Christian. Really appreciate you taking the time. It was nice. Your truck looks really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've done a nice job with it, definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck, and we definitely hope to hear more of your stories around the campfire later.
Awesome. Bye.
And now, welcome to the Centresteer podcast. Greg Shondel of Himalaya. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. It's fun to be here.
Happy to have you. So Himalaya, it's just the name, but you guys are involved in building Land Rovers and such.
That's all we do. Yeah, sometimes it helps people get to and understand what we do real quick, but all we do is Land Rovers. So we do everything from the Defenders, 90s, 110s, 130s. We go back to the series vehicles, which have a special place in my heart. So we do a lot with the 88s and 109s, primarily the 88s at this point. But so we do everything from restoration to the other end of the spectrum where we're, for Red Rung, we're putting modern engines in them.
Excellent.
So how you feel about that? We put a lot of GM engines, Cummins turbo diesel. We work the R2.8, and really everything's built to order. So it's really understanding what the client's going to use, how they're going to use it, and we build around that.
Take us back. How'd you become a Land Rover nut?
I guess it was a slow process, but I own the business with my brother James, and we didn't grow up having Land Rovers. There was one Land Rover in our neighborhood, a Defender 90, a NAS, green. And we'd always see it driving by. I think the owner of that probably drove it to work every day, and we'd see it after school. So that was the first imprint of what a Land Rover was. We grew up ATVing in northern New Jersey and off-roading all the time, and that was our 4x4 fix, if you will. We didn't have access or know of anybody with an old school Land Rover or anything like that.
You didn't watch Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom?
I don't know. I didn't watch that, but we grew up. I had a CJ. I had a CJ5. I used to snowplow with. That was my first car. My grandfather, we were fortunate. My grandfather took us to Nantucket one summer when we were kids. And of course, that's packed with Land Rovers. And we started seeing more of them. And as kids, you don't really know what you're looking at. I guess a lot of Americans don't always know what an old Defender Land Rover is. They usually think it's an old Jeep.
Let me tell you, Americans still think it's the Jeep. Yeah.
Yeah. We get that comment all the time. Nice Jeep.
Yeah. My friends do it on purpose now because they know it annoys me.
Yeah. We get that all the time. Started there, and my brother got in a position where he could afford one, frankly. A Defender 110. He bought one from some company that was importing them and flipping them. And we picked it up here in Charleston, and I flew in. I wasn't living here at the time, and I flew in and picked it up with an exciting day. Of course, we barely made it home, had fuel and electrical issues, broke down about halfway home. It was a 20-minute drive. Had a TDI, which I love, 200 TDI. And my brother's more mechanical than myself, so I leave, and then I come back about a month later. He's bought a brand new chassis, new bulkhead. He's converting it to left-hand drive. Got a rebuilt engine from a company in England. And he's a bit excessive. He went all in. And then he gets to a point where this kind of leads into how we started him. He gets to a point where he wants to paint the vehicle. And so maybe I can lease a small bay in a local automotive shop here in Charleston. That, long story short, gets into, okay, maybe we can build a couple a year, pay for the hobby. He invested a significant amount of money in parts at that point. Soon after that, he had some changes in his life and moved away from Charleston, which wasn't the greatest thing for the business. Just leveled out, and we switched spots. So I came here, I stopped what I was doing elsewhere, moved to Charleston, put some energy behind the business, and we've grown a lot. We have 30 employees now.
That's impressive.
We have everything, all capabilities under this roof. The last piece was upholstery. We just brought that in-house, which is exciting. We have some really talented people here.
Yeah, that's a special art from all the car shows I've ever seen. Doing upholstery it's a special skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zach, who we have on board here, he did work for us, but convincing him to come on board, because I knew once we have him here, and if you're around these Land Rovers and how difficult they are to work with, and they might look the same, but they're all different. But even like a series, for example, the last 88, which I'm really proud of, we did some amazing things with the door cards and some of the interior trim, and we made our own foam for the seats to find a bit more leg room and try to evolve the product. But my personal passion for Land Rovers is the old school stuff. I like things with a story. I overuse the word patina probably, but everything that I personally own is pretty beat up and tells a story, and I like that.
So what was the first Land Rover you personally owned? Was it that T110 that you and your brother started with?
That was his, so I didn't put my name on that one.
Okay.
I'm the youngest of three, so we have another brother in New Jersey. So I was just a fan at that point. Believe it or not, my Disco, I have a 94 Disco, which I love. I daily drive that car. That was my first. The Discovery growing up was always a neat car. It was one of those. So I got one I found was a manual transmission. I bought that.
That is a manual. That's a rare breed here in North America.
Yeah, well, 94 and 95 only.
Yeah, mine's a 94. Soon after that, on Craigslist of all places, I found an ad probably 11 p.m. at night. I love scouring the internet probably you guys do too, scouring for that deal that's out there. And it was no picture, there was nothing. It just said 1951 Series 1 Land Rover.
Whoa.
And there was no phone number or anything like that. And I just emailed. I said, if it is what it is, I'll buy it. I don't care what condition. Price was right. So I bought that vehicle, and it was sitting in the desert of Nevada for, I think, since the 80s, I think was the last registration on it. All complete. Of course, all the plastic and vinyl was completely gone. But the patina of the body was really straight. There's no rust. The desert vehicle, so you can imagine it was really clean. Engine had compression, the whole thing.
Save a ton of money on sandblasting because the weather takes care of that for you.
Yeah, the seats are gone. Anything plastic or vinyl is completely disintegrated. It's a beautiful truck. It's probably 6 different colors of green. I think it's perfect. So I would say that vintage Land Rover.
Do you know how long it had been sitting?
No, but a long time.
Yeah.
Based on what I've seen, it was last registration, I think, was 82.
And were you able to do any more research on its history?
I did. I got the heritage certificate. It was sold in Los Angeles in 1951, July, which I find interesting. Who bought that car in July of 1951? There wasn't that many. There's a lot of them, but not.
And Los Angeles might have been someone famous.
Cool, right? I don't know. So yeah, that's a special car. That's, as Barry Seinfeld would say, that's the dead man's car, meaning that I'm never going to sell that car. I think that'll be passed on. Hopefully.
Have you named it?
Yeah, I did name it. My grandfather drove he was a cavalry officer in World War II. My dad has a photo of him leaning against a Jeep Willys. There's some correlation with the Jeep, right? That's where the initial inspiration for Land Rover came. And on his Willys, there's a photo of him in France leaning against his truck, and it says it's stenciled the old goat. So my series is the old goat,
Nice.
in honor of my grandfather. So
Excellent.
You'll have to go and tell me what the serial number is at some point in time, because we also collect serial numbers to determine the survival rate. I realize it's a bit of a tangent, but I can tell you right now that 20.3% of Series 1s imported into North America still survive in some form. And yours would be another one that we've now know exists.
what's interesting is I think it must have been your fact, because I researched that recently. I wanted to understand how many were produced in 48, every year.
It's all there.
I saw that survival rate, and I was like, that is unbelievable. In a day and age where we're going to throw cars out, after 4 or 5 years now, it seems. That's an unbelievable stat. Yes, mine is one of them. I'll give you the number. But it's a 51. It's got the 1.6 liter engine. The only thing I'm going to do nice, I'm going to have our upholstery team do a really nice leather, like distressed leather interior. And everything else will be original, and it'll basically be a golf cart here in Charleston.
So how often do you drive it?
So that one's so we pulled the engine out. The guys, we don't have a lot of time to work on my cars here, which is a good problem to have. I'm not complaining.
Yes. That's what is that? The mechanic's curse, right?
Yeah. And listen, I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not a mechanic. I'm surrounded by very skilled people. So I'm asking them in their spare time to work on my trucks, which they all have different opinions on. They don't all have the same taste that I do, if you will. So the guys were nice enough to pull it out. They did all new gaskets, rebuilt the engine to some degree, and then they put it back in. They even asked me halfway through when they had it out, do you want me to wash it? And I said, please don't wash it. Just put it right back in. All that grease is rust protecting. I'm going to keep that on there. But no, today's a special week because potentially I haven't even ran. So that truck, we've been so busy over the last few years building this business. I've got 2 daughters now. It's been a busy few years. So that truck has been sitting in the corner of our shop for a few years now, collecting dust.
So we didn't encourage you to get it ready for the Diamond Jubilee.
No, but maybe but it will be. I'm confident we're looking at starting that thing potentially by, I don't want to get overly ambitious, by Friday.
Oh,
and
nice.
Then, the brakes and all that stuff, drivetrain stuff's been done. But in lieu of all, I've mixed in a lot of 88s to fill that void for me. So I've had a handful of the old series ones for me. I like the 60s for whatever reason. I like old vintage Triumphs and BSAs. And then I've got a BSA in my office, and I've got 3 at home. So I don't know, for whatever reason, I gravitate to the 1960s. So I like the Series 2s, the Series 2As. I think that gauge bezel, in my opinion, is the most iconic dash in automotive. I've got a bunch of those in my office, just that dash piece.
You don't have a Series 2 as your desk?
No, it's funny. My production manager's son in England builds those. We were just over there, and it was tempting. His price tag was a little steep, in my opinion, but they're pretty cool. I do have behind me. You'll probably see my wall.
I see you have a couple of breakfasts in behind you, which seems to be the North American term for the radiator support panel.
The 51 Series 1, that you've had that. What do you have after that one?
So I'll just give you the current status because sometimes it is overwhelming.
Now this actually is a good problem to have. You can't have just one. You get your first. And
yes, the problem is when you have a facility as large as we do, you can always stuff one in the corner somewhere.
Good point.
Like a motorcycle in 88 is not that big.
You'll get this one for parts for a customer, might need it down the road, right?
Hey, I need those Lucas wiper motors are worth. I had to buy it. So I've got a 51. Of course, I just mentioned that. I've got a 61 that's running. It's a really nice, again, my opinion, it's a very nice truck. Looks like you maybe threw a sack of rocks at it, but I've got a 71 late 2A rather, with the lights on the outside, the metal grille. I don't know where your stance is on Santanas, but I just have been driving a 1980 Santana 80-inch and enjoying that one for this summer here in Charleston. No top. That truck's been a lot of fun.
That sounds
they're
wonderful.
okay till you have to find parts.
Santana 80-inch? Santana 80. 88, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the 1980, so towards the end of Santana, but fun as a diesel. It was the right color blue with white wheels. Just a fun summer truck for me and my wife to have some fun in. My predicament now is how do you put a 3-year-old in a 1960 Series 88? If you guys have ideas, I'm open to it.
Lots of bubble wrap?
Yeah.
What I would do, and I suggested this for one of my customers who had that same question. What I would do is get a car seat, make some brackets, bolt it down to a sheet of plywood, and then pin that plywood down in the cargo area.
Put them in the back.
Yeah.
I like where your head's at.
What about adding an extra roll cage just for rollover protection? I realize that breaks the
look, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Just put a helmet on the kid; he'll be fine.
Oh.
That's true.
Get a military roll bar off of a 109.
Yeah. Okay. These are all good options.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about a forward-facing bench seat in the back and some securing them somehow.
Or, like I said, it depends on the age of the kid. But if it requires a car seat, just make a platform with the car seat on it that just fits in the back.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That is for my use case now. I'm not going to be. We're so busy with the two young kids. I'm not off-roading adventures every weekend. It's a lot of family time, which is amazing, and I love it. But the idea of going maybe to breakfast with my daughters in the series, it's a romantic idea. So I'm hopeful to do that. Right now, we Disco for that.
You have to convert them early, so you got to get them involved early in Land Rover world, so they grow up with it.
3 weeks ago, you guys, I get lots happening in my life. 3 weeks ago, my daughter's 3.5, took an 88 out, and I taught her the basics of shifting.
Nice.
So push it forward, pull it back. So she
there you go.
Yeah, so she's well on her way, really.
We commend you. That's good. You also have a Disco. Do you have other, we'll call them modern Rovers in the fleet?
The most modern I go is a 2006 Range Rover, which is a lot of car for what they sell for.
That's plenty modern.
Yeah, that's pretty modern right there. It's a lot of car for their value. They just plummet so much, but that's been a great car too. The one I bought needed a water pump, and that was about it. And the AC blows great, and it's just a really nice car. So the reality of my life is when a lot of times I'm road testing cars. We're building probably 20 vehicles at a time on average, and we'd like to get 1,000 to 1,500 miles on the car. So I have the burden of having to drive these cars.
Tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
You've got to do it. But we are looking, it is different because you're in the car, you're trying to put yourself in the client's shoes and find the problems, and then come in the next day with a list of problems for the team to get off the checklist. And you're always the bearer of bad news to some degree. We want to sort out the problems before it gets to the client. That's the goal.
What is your daily then? I think it was the Disco was your daily? Do you have a daily?
I rotate depending on kind of the mood, but the Disco and the Range Rover are probably the primary. I have about a 25-minute commute on the highway. So the Disco or the Range are a good option. If I'm feeling brave, like this past weekend, I took the 88 up to the shop on a weekend, but we've got a lot of tractor trailer traffic with the ports here. Monday morning, it's a little squirrely with 18-wheelers passing you.
Well, you are the rare person who doesn't have a non-Land Rover as their daily.
Yeah, it's not strategic in any way. I genuinely like all of these cars. I think that the third generation, the Range Rover, I think it's a great looking car. Probably the most comfortable car I've personally owned. I mean, it's been very reliable despite, I know there's problems out there, but fixed the water pump, charged the AC, and that car has been phenomenal for me. The Disco, the same. The AC doesn't work in that car, so it's more of a winter car because Charleston gets pretty hot. You're not going to come to our shop and see them with my Disco on the lift. It's just not going to happen.
Have you ever owned a non-Rover product?
Yeah, I'm sure I have. I used to own a...
I like how you. I'm
the
sure
the
I
fact
have.
that he has to think about it is a good sign.
Been a while.
It's okay. It's okay.
I can't say that I'm interested in owning anything else. I mean, to be honest, I don't really get excited about modern cars. It's not, to me, they're just cars. Even the new Defender is a great SUV and great car. Land Rover makes nice cars. They're comfortable and all that. But if it's my passion, and if I have the funds to get another car, I don't see myself, I don't get all that excited. I like the safety features of a modern car for my wife to drive, and she drives a Toyota 4Runner, which she loves. For me, I like driving cars that I get excited about. I think the Disco ones are some of the nicest looking vehicles. I really do get excited about them. I think at some point we'll probably see a demand for people wanting to restore them and put LS3s in them. Yeah, I think that'd be a really fun vehicle.
Once the supply of non-rusty ones starts to really thin out, people will put money into them.
Yeah, all Land Rover for me. So personally,
that's wonderful. That's actually why you're on the podcast, actually. because all Land Rovers all the time. So what kind of adventures and activities do you do with your trucks? Do you go to rallies? Are you doing local Charleston events, taking your kids out, going camping, any of those activities?
So the last few years, like I said, have been a bit busy. We've had so much growth with the business. That's been pretty much 7 days a week, and commitment to, we have a lot of great committed orders. So we're focused on that. And then mix in raising two young, we got a 9-month-old and a 3.5-year-old. So that's been busy. I think Stella's starting to get the age we can maybe do some camping. But for us, we take the Land Rover, I bring them home, I'll throw the car seats in the back, we'll do some road testing. So most of our clients, we got 110s and things like that. I'll throw car seats in the back, we'll do some road testing with the kids. So it gives the client some confidence I'm putting my children in there. But that's our adventure these days. This feels like these weeks just fly by. But we are, as Himalaya, now that we've grown a lot of production, we've put the right people in place, we're able to think a little more strategically. We're going to do an event, a Land Rover event here in Charleston in December. We're finalizing the date on that, but a big meetup. We're doing more service work. We've ramped that up, which has been fun. Keeping old Land Rovers on the road is exciting for me. And we've got the right team in place to do that professionally. So typically we have 20 builds on the floor. Then every week we might have 3 service jobs per se. So we'll hand pick them, everything from heavy service, suspension, brakes, all of that, to we're really efficient at chassis swaps. So we've done quite a few of those. Just keeping old Land Rovers on the road. Although we build custom ones, we are passionate about that. So we're going to do a big event here in Charleston. There's a big community down here, not just Charleston, but the general low country area. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then I was just in England for the old Peterborough show. I'm forgetting the name specifically, but it was back in September. So I flew over there. We have a facility in England from a supply perspective. I have a need to go over there, but we flew over. I went with our production manager, Rob Howard, and we went to the show, and then we met with suppliers for 2 weeks. So that was a good trip.
Is there a club in South Carolina?
There's Low Country Rovers and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Obviously, a lot of them come into the port of Charleston. Pretty much any day you're going to see Land Rovers coming through that port. But there's a lot. There's some other builders here. It's a great town to have it. You can really drive an 88 without a top pretty much year round down here, which is nice.
There you go. Yeah, are you part of active in any of those clubs, the Low Country Land Rover Club?
No, the club that I participated in, just frankly for parts, has been the Series 1 club, which has been phenomenal. Anytime you need that weird Series 1 part and where do I get it? And that's even to our guys, because we don't deal on that so much. That has been a challenge, but I'm really, like I said, I'm at the point now I think I have all the parts. That's the only one I've been active in. Our goal is to do a quarterly Himalaya Automotive Club meetup. And that might expand outside of Land Rovers a little bit, maybe some vintage 4x4s and other sorts. We're not completely biased, but I want to start having more fun with the community, and which would be great for the service end of it, connect with the people as keep them on the road. Because I know a lot of people don't buy old Land Rovers because they don't know where to service them.
Right.
Find out we're here, and we have a full team where I'm not running the business and also in the shop working on the truck. We've got some really talented people out there, so we can get service jobs in and out efficiently.
As you were talking about, you've done a number of different builds. Any stand out for you that you guys have done that were interesting or different or maybe unique? You have a wonderful page of all the builds you've done in yours, and I don't know, they're just fantastic. And I wonder if any stand out to you.
They do. I mean, partially because of my general interest in the series vehicles. I'm really proud of what we've done with the 88. I mean, I think if you guys, I'm sure, have driven 88s or old series vehicles. Hard to argue they're not more than tractors to some degree. And they're great for off-roading and the use case that they were designed for. But some of the vehicles we're building are very usable in the modern context. There's a black one. We just finished a black 88 up, gloss black, really beautiful interior. And the way we're approaching it, at least on the top end of what we do, we put it on a custom coil chassis. We put larger axles on it, basically put essentially Defender axles, disc brakes all the way around. We add power steering, of course, none of which they had. And then we fit it with a GM engine. For us, a lot of times for our clients, we're thinking about drivability, of course, but serviceability is a big one. I think I have 4 Land Rovers right now, a couple of which there's a couple that aren't always running, right? And then
that's why you have multiple, because one should be running out of that.
So at least you have enough parts to keep one running. Right. We're serving, and a lot of times we're serving a client that maybe doesn't want to become a mechanic kind of thing. And the way we look at it, me and my brother look at it, the more people driving vintage Land Rovers in any capacity is a good thing. So we're taking some old scrappy ones with rotted chassis and bulkheads that are gone and bringing them back to life, which I get excited about. So really fun vehicles. We have some clients that daily drive those. We have some clients that just use them for fun vehicles, but that's a car that you can cruise on a modern highway and without even thinking about it. And the exhaust is built the right way where it's quiet and comfortable. And you've got an audio package that's hidden inside of a custom center console that Nick and our electrical team designed. You don't see any modern technology, which is the way it needs to be. You're not going to get in there and feel like you got some touch screen with CarPlay. It's not allowed in the series here. If you're thinking about it, you might want to listen to some music through your smartphone and have some USB charging and hide all of those things. So the guys have done a really great job with that. The black one on our site there, that was the most recent one, which I'm very proud of. We just shipped it out last week, and sometimes it stings when cars leave. And that one in particular, I'd love to. It'd be nice if it stayed around a little longer. But we do a little everything. You'll see on our website or that portal that I sent you. We do everything from the Defender 90s, the 110s, the 130s. We do some classic looking ones and then some tactical looking ones. And really that's the client's personality coming out. Mm-hmm. And we like that part of it because it is a fun experience for our clients to come with an idea. And maybe they've never owned a vintage Land Rover, right? And they've seen them, they've admired them from afar. They love the story like we all do of Land Rover and what they've developed. But you get to design this thing with some unbelievably talented people that we have here. And the end result is this hand-built car that's designed around what you're doing. So it's a really exciting thing. So there's probably something for everybody in that folder you're looking at.
I was going to bring up Bar Harbor. Looks like a Series 2. Is that 2A? Looks like with an Alpine roof, and it's got bird crap still on it from the looks of it, or algae.
So we're doing some builds. You might call them derelicts, or people have different names for them. But as we talked about earlier, I love. So we've done a few where we're retaining the original body, which is a ton of fun. Keeping all of that story of that body together, replacing everything structurally. Of course, the chassis is probably gone in that scenario. If the bulkhead if we can work with it, we will. Otherwise, there's some tricks to make it all look nice for us. But that's one that's going to be a patina build. We just shipped another one up to out east on Long Island for our client. The one we did this past summer had the original sand color, just the aluminum wearing through. In my opinion, that's art. You couldn't pay us enough money to replicate that, right? In an authentic way. Those I'm really excited about. We've got a few in the pipeline for this upcoming year, a 109 and a couple of 88s. It's interesting because the series vehicles aren't the demand when you think about the Defender market or the Land Rover market here in the US. Everyone wants 110s, and there's of course a bunch of builders that build them, and 90% of your phone calls are going to be, hey, can you build me a 110 with a modern engine? And we can do that, and we love it. And they're very useful vehicles. There's no other vehicle you can put 9 people in if you really wanted to. But from a driver's perspective, the series, the way we're building them with that GM engine, although it sounds crazy on paper, is such a fun vehicle to drive. The first time I drove it I pulled down this road where our shop is. We're on a dead end, and I got the chills just driving this vehicle. It was just so raw. I imagine it's like driving a vintage Porsche to some degree. You feel everything. It's you have all the power in the world you want, but it's not out of control. It feels very natural on that drivetrain.
You keep it manual steering, or you don't add any power steering, I hope?
We do add power steering.
Oh, okay.
Are you engineering that in-house, or are you buying a kit?
No, we're doing it in-house. Our production manager, Rob Howard, he ran a restoration and customization shop in England for really 35 years under his own name, but his father worked for the factory and his grandfather worked at the factory. So we brought Rob over here. He shut his business down and came over and joined us here in Charleston, which was a massive addition. So he's been doing everything from the pure restoration side of series vehicles and then upgrades, whether it be a TDI conversion, which are really popular. We're doing some of those. We'll put those in 88s, but adding power steering and adding, of course, disc brakes and some of those things. But you forget how important power steering is. Can you grab your morning?
We've all driven series trucks. Yes, we are well aware.
I get spoiled because I drive ones with power steering and I get my coffee in the morning. I'm driving comfortably with one hand. And then I'll be like, why don't I just go grab my 88 and I'll grab my coffee and spill it all over myself. And there's a time and place for a stock series. Don't get me wrong. I love them. But there's a time and place for one think you guys would all agree if you got behind the wheel. It's a lot of fun.
It is. Yeah. And there is that need to keep up and make it a little safer, especially here in North America when you get onto highways. The last time I went out in my series truck, I purposely avoided the highways, which was still a fun ride, but I didn't want to deal with trucks and cars flying that don't pay attention to what's ahead of them.
Interstates are way too fast for series vehicles.
Yes.
In their stock form nowadays. So you're asking for trouble, unfortunately.
I agree.
And at daytime, let alone at night, which is even worse. Or it starts to rain.
Okay. We're also doing some other interesting ones for those that, like, we have a Skunk Works program here where we'll do one kind of crazy one-off build. And right now we're working on a Parenti 6x6.
Do tell more.
Yeah, so we had a single cab, flatbed, Parenti. We've had it here for a while. We always had aspirations to do something fun with it. And we had a client that came along, and really nice guy. He owns a high-end catering business in the New York, New Jersey area, a great chef. And he does these amazing food experiences where he shows up and he's got wood-burning stoves. And currently he does it with a Defender 90 and a 110. And he had the vision to say, why don't we take that 6x6 and reimagine it for something more modern. We stripped it down. We've demilitarized it, if you will. It's Keswick green, so still a Land Rover color. It's got wolf wheels, so it's a classic aesthetic from an outside. But of course, the interior is beautiful bison leather with cashmere and some technology. He opted for a supercharged LS3, which is an 830 horsepower engine.
Excuse me? Yeah. 800 horsepower?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they squeezed every inch of that one. But,
what are you doing for transmission and transfer case on that? Because I guarantee you the LT95A is not going to handle 800 horsepower.
Yeah, we were on the same thought there. So we worked with a company out west, and forgive me, I'm forgetting their name, but they built a custom transfer case for us. So it'll stay a proper 6x6, which we're excited about. We're not going to do the floating rear axle or anything like that. And that truck will probably we'll be driving that truck road testing throughout November. So it'll be exciting. That truck will be coming out before the end of the year. Did all the aesthetic stuff to it. We're doing a matching trailer. He's going to do some towing with it. And that'll be a really fun project, completely outside of our normal production. And really the only thing Defender on that to some degree is the doors. The cab is completely different. The chassis is completely different. We did convert it to left-hand drive for him in this process. But yeah, we'll save for the right client, the right idea. We want to do some of that fun, creative stuff as well.
You do everything now in-house, and does that include paint and upholstery, mechanical, body work? Is that all covered by your shop?
Everything's done here. Yeah, so we moved to this facility about 2 years ago now. It's 18,000 square feet of indoor space, and we've got, like any good Land Rover builder, we've got probably, I think, the coolest junkyard in North America. If you guys ever have the opportunity, love to have you. Yeah. We've got a lot of old Land Rovers here outside, and we utilize every part we can. And the ones we don't use, we save. So engines and stuff that we're not using, I'll be the first one in the dumpster saying we can't throw that out because somebody will need it.
Right.
Rob will make fun of me if he was here. He would make fun of me for that because he would say just throw it in the skip as they do in England. But yeah, we do everything in house, which has been a game changer. We got a state of the art paint booth and a phenomenal painter. Our electrical team is top notch. They're certainly not Land Rover electricians, nothing against that, but that's probably the biggest departure from Land Rover we do. If you guys open the seat box in our truck, it's a bit of a work of art. Devin, who mainly wires most of our trucks, and Nick, who runs the team, they're adding fuses and relays. We're labeling every wire. We're beefing up marine grade connectors, and we're doing stuff for future service in mind. Serviceability is really first and foremost when we think about our product. Clients are limited on time, and we want to save them as much time as possible and let them enjoy their Land Rover, make sure it's ready to go when they're able to use it with their family. And so doing all that upfront work, you're not going to open our dash or any of our trucks and see a bird's nest. I can guarantee it. So I'm really proud of that. Not that everything, when you go on Instagram, you're not going to see our electrical systems, but yeah, it's really impressive. And what's great about these guys is every time we do one, they think of 10 different things they can do better on the next. Even when thinking about my Series 1, the only thing I'm willing to not be stock would be the electrical system. I'm open to Devin saying I can improve this. Like, that doesn't bother me.
It certainly couldn't make it worse.
Yeah.
Sure you could. You could go to negative Earth.
Yeah. It's a fun place to come if you like the product.
Do you own fabrication also? Are you fabricating any parts or things that you can't source?
Yeah, we do. We do a lot of custom parts. We do custom bumpers for the Defenders. We do custom rock sliders that house our power folding board, which we do on a lot of the modern Defender builds. We make our own door handles for the Defenders. When we do a series build, or really all of our builds, we're going to reskin the entire exterior of the truck for a full build. There's a couple companies we work with in England producing the panels.
Sticking with aluminum?
And, yeah.
Okay.
Of course, yeah.
Just checking.
Typically a new bot, new shells, and then new bulkheads for the most part.
More technical, more of a curiosity. So you're going to do a series vehicle. Are you going to keep them as a generic 2A, for example? Not to go be too ANARC, but series 2s, for example, are different from 2As. I doubt, do you actually get into series 1s then?
I would,
even though the demand is not there.
Listen, I think you got hopefully getting to know me a little bit. If you were a client and called and said, let's do a series 1, I would jump at the opportunity. I have 257s here that I pulled off a property. There's not a lot left of them, but I'm saving them for the right client. I think there's an interesting story to be done there, whether it's with a modern engine or a restoration or even an EV build, I think would be fun. But yeah, I think the series 1s I'd love to get into. I think the simplicity of that car is, the way the doors come off, for example, I think that's the coolest thing. Bring it over and pop it off. That's just a fun little feature. But I'd like to see a business where we're doing a lot more series vehicles, whether it's a 1 or a 3, whatever, everything in between, and building them so that they're more drivable for people at every level. When we have that conversation, it's understanding what does the client want to do with it, listening to how they drive, what are their expectations. We have the capability to do a concourse level restoration if someone wants to do that. I'll say that's not necessarily the demand. People want something more usable, but yeah,
I don't think those are as fun to make either. I think it's more fun to do things a little custom.
Yeah. And our team is positioned it for that. If you look at the group of guys we have here, we have Rob, who's from England. He's been restoring them forever. We've got Ben, who's been one of his lead mechanics for 12 years plus in England. So we've got a lot of the pure Land Rover knowledge amongst other people. But a lot of the people we've brought to the table in this company have never seen Land Rover's vintage ones prior to this. Our electrical team's never seen one. They're
not missing anything there.
Yeah. All right. Rob, yeah, it's funny because Rob wires the Land Rover as they are wired, right? He's an old school Land Rover mechanic. And Rob and Nick always have a bit of a back and forth because Nick has different standards and Rob will say, no, that's how they're done. Just do it that way. And so that banter is always fun to watch. You'd be a fly on the wall for that conversation. But yeah, people are always blown away that we're building custom Land Rovers with modern engines in Charleston, South Carolina. People always assume we're in California or something like that. We've got our mechanics and our team in general. The biggest kind of thing I look for when hiring is problem solvers. And not to over dramatize what we do in any way. So this is, in my opinion, is one way to drive the point of what the people we have. They're the special operations of automotive to some degree, right? These are free thinkers. They're problem solvers. They don't have a playbook. They got to think on the fly. And so those are the people that are really successful here because as you guys know, the Land Rover might look the same, but there's 8 different ways to build the axle. And there's just all these variables that even just the pure Land Rover side, and then you're incorporating a GM engine, and then you're incorporating some modern technology with the audio. And it's just, we put dual air conditioning systems in 110s. And that's AC is one of the hardest. That's a challenging thing to do and do it right.
They were not designed for AC. That was not the original plan. And plus, they were hand built originally. So why not continue the tradition? How modern do you typically get with your builds? It sounds like you're keeping just 2 Defenders, which would technically take us to 2016, but are you doing any Discoveries yet, or are you thinking about that?
I personally am, but again, my passion would love to see some Discoveries. We have experience. Rob's done them over the years, done full restorations. And to call him, he doesn't love working on them, so he might go back to England if I tell him we're working on Discos.
What about Rangy Classics?
I was just talking to somebody about this recently. About 3 years ago, we were getting a lot of inquiries for the classics. People were calling all the time, do you build them? And my team wasn't as large, so I was really trying to keep us focused. We have a capability, and again, we've done them, but I'm just not seeing the demand anymore. I honestly haven't seen people reaching out, and it's fine. Like I'm going to drive one home tonight, oddly enough. We have one in for service. We just had to chase a power draw for a client, and it ended up being the light under the hood there, the bonnet. But yeah, I haven't seen a lot of demand. I prefer Disco 1 build. I think those would be a ton of fun. I drive one. I know where they could improve. And the LS engine would be a phenomenal one in there. The Defender one, the Defenders, we take the most modern. So we'll do a Puma dash. We'll do dual air conditioning. We'll do every modern amenity on the inside. Again, understanding what the client actually wants to use and putting that in there, not trying to overdo it. At the end of the day, we're building, these are custom built for clients. So we like to understand how they use their vehicle and build around it. We all use it differently. I don't use CarPlay in any car I get in. I use my cell phone if I need anything, but some people want that. So we want these people using them. We're not building show cars. Our cars are being driven. They all have a different mission. So it's fun to understand, what are we doing? Whether we've got trucks in Alaska, Hawaii, the mountains, the beach. So it's fun to understand how people are going to use them and then build around that.
Do you find that your clientele that actually come for a series vehicle, are they coming from Defenders or modern ones, or are they actually coming from something completely different? One of the things I noticed back in the 90s was people at the time when they were buying the Defenders would also be interested to go backwards and get into the series vehicles. I wonder if that's still true or not.
Yeah, a little bit of that. To be honest, most of them are coming with the intention of, hey, I want to buy a Defender, because I know there's a lot of people building custom Defenders, right? And they come with that idea. And then once they start learning what we're doing with this series, and then we can get to a similar place from a driving perspective, you get these amazing clients that really want to connect with the old school, but you want something you're going to drive. Like, we've got a client in Charleston that daily drives the series at the level I discussed. His last car for the last decade has been a 911. It's a nice car, right? And that's a car he daily drives. He does probably 20-minute drive every day to his gym out here and stuff like that. He's picking people up at the airports. But the biggest compliment after he had that car for a few months was that he, instead of taking a phone call on that 20-minute drive to the gym and maybe squeezing in a work call, he puts his phone in the center console and he just drives his car, which is fun because it's such a drive it, which sounds silly, but I know me personally, between here and home, I'm probably going to do a couple phone calls and I go into my house with that kind of energy. And maybe it's not the greatest thing. So it's a nice way for people to disconnect. I think some people owned a Defender 20 years ago and they want to get back into that, but maybe something a bit more refined. So that's where we do get some clients that have owned them before.
What about automatic versus manual? Are you doing a lot of converting to automatics, or are folks still driving the manuals?
There's not a lot of people in this country that want to drive manuals.
Not a lot of people in this country that know how.
Yeah, I will do my best to teach my daughters how to drive a manual. That's on my list as a dad. But yeah, that's a massive reason people, obviously there's not a lot of automatic Defenders there or Land Rovers out there. So people want automatics. We get there a couple different ways. We'll do 300 TDI conversions with an automatic, whether it be an 88, we install 300s in there, or we'll do on a Defender. You just lose some of that power. So it's not always the nicest, get some vibration and things like that. Most people, if you're going with the modern engine, they are going with automatics. We do a 6-speed automatic on our LS. But there's been a handful that have done manuals, and I'll tell you, they're a ton of fun. We shipped one to Massachusetts, an 88 with an LS, and that had a 5-speed manual, if I remember correctly. And that truck was just so much fun to drive. That was the one I got the chills coming down this road. I love driving a manual, just a ton of fun. But a lot of times we're building something for the whole family to drive. And thinking that way, you might want something, just throw the keys to anybody and they can jump in and go.
What about TD5s? Have you considered, or do you get customers asking to put TD5s? I know they're coming due, I think, on the import side.
Yeah, they're right there, 98 now with the imports, and they're starting to bleed over, I guess, next year now. But we haven't, partially, I rely on our subject matter experts, and I'll say from a pure Land Rover perspective, I'm going to rely on Rob's opinion. Rob's been restoring and servicing Land Rovers for a long time. He does not like the TD5 from a service perspective. He will love the TDIs. He's daily driving a TDI now as his US car. He's got a Defender 90 with a 300 in it. And he tells me every morning what a beautiful car that is.
Nice.
He also has an F-150 that we've given him, which he also thinks is the greatest car that's ever been built. Yeah, they don't have those over there. But the 300, the 200s and the 300s have been the sweet spot for us. We'll see about the TD5s. I mean, I have never driven one personally, so obviously you don't see a lot of those here in the U.S. I'm sure you'll start seeing them, and people have their opinions. We do the Cummins turbo diesel, the R2.8, which is a great modern engine for if you want a turbo diesel. But as I've learned about that engine, at some level, a 300 TDI is comparable from a driving perspective. especially if you want a manual transmission. If it's my car and I'm going a diesel, I'm going a 300 TDI.
Well, the 300 TDI is easier to keep cool. That's one thing about it compared to the Cummins.
Yeah, the Cummins has had its challenges, and there's a lot of technology in there.
I've got a Cummins in my 130, so I've a lot of firsthand with it.
Yeah, so we've had successful installations of them, but it's a loud engine for what they're worth.
I like loud.
Yeah, if when we talk about clients, I always say, if you love a turbo diesel, I love the sound of a turbo diesel. I love when the turbo
actually it's quieter than the 300 TDI that came in the 130, so I can't complain.
Listen,
you can have a conversation at 70. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's pretty good. Yeah, can't complain with that. No, they've been good, but yeah, I like the TDIs.
So I'm wondering, because things I've been hearing, it sounds like you're able to make your Defenders watertight. You mean your driver foot doesn't get wet?
That is one of our things that's heavily on our quality checklist as we're doing these is water testing. So we put a lot of attention to that. We do a lot of attention to insulation and with Dynamat and Dynafoam and getting these cabins as quiet, as comfortable as possible. And that's the reality of the product we're building. And that's the expectation, especially when you think about the 110. When we build a custom 110, a lot of people are coming from a modern SUV, which is a tall order, as you guys know, knowing what it actually is. And we have a client that's maybe never driven a Defender, a stock one. So it's a challenge if you don't understand what we're starting with and then where we're going. So sometimes when people come here, if they haven't driven one before, we'll jump in an old one and go down the road just so we can get a sense of, I'll give a baseline of, hey, where's where we're starting. And Land Rover, of course, they'd be okay with maybe some gaps in the doors and seeing daylight and that sort of thing. So a funny story, at least I think it is, but Rob's dad, he was an overnight shift in the factory in Solihull, and he was a part of, I think it was rectification or some official name for his job. But one of the things he would do is, say a bulkhead was out in the factory on a build, they had a pole wrapped in rope, and they would drive the car into the pole just to tweak the bulkhead back. Level of engineering with Land Rover has been unbelievable.
It makes you wonder how they survived all this time sometimes. The things that they did or how they did them.
The reality is that everybody did it that way 50 years prior.
That's a good point. That's also one of the reasons why they had to stop making the Defender, because it was hand built. Even up until 2016, there was still a lot of hand building going on.
Yeah, it's part of the charm, really.
Yes.
I think if you at any level, even if we're building the craziest custom one with all the features, you still have to understand you're not buying a production car. Even if this is still a Defender body, you got to be into that. You got to that feel of being tight to the door and sitting up very tall. It's a unique vehicle to drive. So if you're coming looking for something that's a Range Rover but better, you really have to embrace the pure side of it too, because it'll drive better, but they are still a Land Rover at its core, which I love. And what do you guys think of the new Defender? Have you driven it?
Nice. I just don't think it should be called Defender.
Yeah, I've driven one. Dealership lent me a 110 for the day and drove it about and so on. It's, as a modern car, it's actually fills and checks a lot of boxes and such. I agree with Harold. As a Discovery, it would have been solved all their poor Discovery sales at this point in time. Personally, I would have done it better or differently for a Defender. But my concern about the new Defender is going to be out of warranty. What's it going to be like? Because Land Rover JLR is historically it's British Leyland, and the reputation on some of the quality hasn't really been there. Some vehicles, LR3s, have turned out to be quite good, but where's this one going to be? And I didn't mention
especially with all
Freelander.
those computers.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the software is going to be a quite interesting aspect there in the long run.
I have a diesel Audi right now, and when it comes time to replace that, if the Defender was in a diesel and it was actually had a warranty that was competitive, it'd certainly be something to consider. At this point in time, I don't think anyone can go and make a judgment on it.
Still having supply issues and chips and has caused them certainly a lot of problems, and they're still digging out from under that. That's going to impact them for a number of years. I'm of course, Greg, of the other side of the coin of it's a Land Rover, it's a Defender. I've driven them on road, off road, wonderful, capable. You can have a conversation. It'll keep you warm. It'll keep you dry. It's very nice. I I think the problem for many folks is it was a great adjustment. It was more of a revolution than an evolution because they didn't do the development that they could or should have done over the years. That's my general take on it.
No, they're great. They're great cars. I've only been in them a little bit, and I agree. It's a nice modern SUV. Yeah. From a design perspective, I was pleasantly surprised that for me, the dash was the nicest part. I mean, when I got in the car, it was very evident. You could see the inspiration from the old Defender dash. It's interesting now with the Land Cruiser coming out, that kind of looks similar. These cars that are like, now it's going to blur the lines a little bit. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. And then we work with a great Land Rover dealer in Canada and talking about how they're rebranding, and some level they're dropping Land Rover, which is interesting.
Oh, yeah. That's moving to the trust mark and going to your different family names. One of the dealers here in Pittsburgh, they've already dropped the Jaguar logo because it's just going to be a text for the vehicle. It's just going to be Jaguar, and they're dropping all other logos.
Yeah, it'll be essentially 3 separate brands: Defender, Range Rover, and
Discovery. And then you stroll back to, you have the Discovery problem. That's for JLR to solve, and they're working on it. About the future for Himalaya, are you looking at electric conversions or any other significant future changes or interesting builds?
Yeah, we've done a 110, an electric 110, and for me, I think about it. I know a lot of people have gotten on the bandwagon doing electric, and I'll do it confidently once we find a good supplier from an EV perspective. For us, the GM products, one of the reasons we love them is not only the GM product itself, but our supplier is phenomenal when it comes to warranty and service, and they're very predictable engines, and we're setting our clients up for success. Going back to that serviceability item, there's just so many EV companies now. Until we get the right partner, or until maybe GM really starts producing a kit, I think that at that point we'd be more comfortable. But I try to I don't want to get a client overly excited about doing EV as it involves so much every day. I do think a series or any soft top, a Defender 90 soft top, beach truck, or something with low miles expectations. I don't think you'd want to go in the backcountry somewhere with an EV car. At least I wouldn't. But for the right use case, I think it'd be a ton of fun. Here in Charleston, we drive a lot of golf carts are a thing here. You could take them on the roads and stuff like that.
I didn't know. You can drive golf carts on the road?
You go out to dinner on a golf cart and do your thing. It's tons of fun. But if the idea of doing that in an 80-inch series, that'd be a ton of fun. Mm-hmm. Way cool. Yeah, but no, right now we're really focused on production. We're really focused on the committed orders we have. We've got a lot of orders. We're booked up for a few years, and we want to focus on getting as efficient as possible. And there's always room for improvement there. Supply chains is always a challenge for what building Land Rovers in the U.S. There's some complexity to that. So the more we can get that process dialed in, put the right people in place, we'll be hiring more people. Supply chain is such a big item for us. And we have to train almost everyone on our process when they come here, because there's not going to get someone off the street that's been doing what we do necessarily. So that's our focus. And then we got some amazing builds booked, a lot of series, a lot of Defenders and the 6x6 and that sort of thing. In the next couple of years, we'll be churning out some beautiful trucks. But we have plans to grow. My brother and I have aspirations for the business, and we'd like to get up to about 50 trucks a year will be the goal.
How long does a typical build take?
The build process, say if you came and ordered one right now with the back order and the time, we would, for an 88, for example, would be 14 to 16 months.
Okay. Can you come with your own vehicle, or are you always going using one of yours?
We can do both, of course, but primarily I'd say 90% of the people that we work with don't have a vehicle. So we handle the whole process. They really come with an idea. Okay, I want to build a Defender, and we narrow in on the body style. We narrow in on the drivetrain. We have several different levels. And as we move up the scale, more and more of a modern take. The top end of what we do, we've re-engineered the chassis. We've gone to a 4-link coilover suspension. We put it on Dynatrack axles. We worked with Brembo and designed a braking kit. And it's just a really modern platform from that perspective. That's where we start getting into the LT4 and some of these supercharged setups a little more comfortably, in our opinion. Just different levels, again, depending on what the client ultimately wants to use it for.
Does it change the time frame any if they supply the truck?
To some degree, depending on the condition of the vehicle. And a lot of it's just where we're at with already committed orders. And I think I want to be conservative when giving that answer at this point, because we're fortunate where we have a lot of demand. Essentially, we can choose our projects and clients to work with, because it's it's a partnership on both ends. There's got to be trust on both sides. We're in a good position there. I think some people might say, like, we could build you a car in 6 months. I don't think personally you can build anything from scratch in 6 months unless you have the parts right in front of you and a couple of people to work on it. You could certainly do that. But to the level we want to do it, I just want to give enough time for the process. But it's a fun experience because the client can come at any point. So whether it's coming, you don't have to come design your Land Rover. We can go out back. We can pick a rusty old 88. We just did one at the old lumber company sign on the door, and the client got to see that. And so they took a couple pieces off that we weren't going to use. And then we strip all that galvanized off and sandblast it, re-galvanize it. And you get to see that process, which is part of the reason you do something like what we do, is for the experience of it. You get to design the vehicle, and in the end of it, it's your vision. And then you get to meet some of the subject matter experts along the way, whether it's talking about electrical or mechanical with Rob, or paint with Trevor, or upholstery with Zach and Demetrius. It's a neat experience. And the best part for us is when people come at the end of the process and they come drive their car for the first time, and maybe we're road testing. We can make adjustments based off how they like their steering feel, brakes. You probably something different than I like. Our last client, we moved his accelerator pedal over an inch because the way with his foot and his ankle. So there's that level of customization is a lot of fun for us. We're passionate about building here in the U.S. It's tempting. It's not really, but you can see the draw to that most companies build them in Europe and finish them here because it's just easier to do. You can get parts the same day. If you needed that weird gasket for a crew cab, you could get that. For us, we got to wait a week, and that slows things down, but it's just a different experience. So we're passionate about that, keeping it here in the U.S.
Greg, thanks very much for talking to us today about Himalaya. I need to add 4x4 or something on the end of that. It's just Himalaya that needs a little more oomph, but thanks for coming on the program today. We appreciate it.
I always love the opportunity to carve out some time to talk about Land Rovers, so I appreciate it. Big fan of your show. I was digging into your podcast and stuff like that. So it's been fun. Crazy to think you said you've been doing it for 10 years now. Is that right?
It has been 10 years, April of this year. Yeah, we purposely started in April.
10 and a half now, as of this month.
Oh, really? Wow.
You guys still like each other?
Yeah, we all got together at the Jubilee. It was the first time in ever. I think we were all together at the same plane. Yeah, it was the first time. Exactly.
Yeah, that was great.
Give you guys a compliment. I was at, and I'm forgetting the name. It was the old Peterborough show in England in September.
LRO, that was LRO owners, isn't it? Is that the one?
Yeah.
I think so.
A lot of great things going on. But several people brought up your podcast, by the way.
Oh, that was great to hear.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It is.
Your podcast.
Nice.
Here we are.
I hope when they brought it up, it was in a good way, not
Those ignorant Yankees think they know what they're talking about.
I couldn't understand what they were saying, but I did know they said something about the Centresteer podcast. So.
Let's go with it was a good thing.
Yeah, positive stuff.
Positive stuff.
There's no such thing as bad publicity, as they say.
Where can folks find you on the internet if they're interested in checking out what Himalaya has to offer?
On Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, if you're of the younger generation, you'll find us on at Drive Himalaya and drivehimalaya.com for our website. We're going to be expanding what we're doing on YouTube for those that want to get a little bit more into the details, not just the aspirational videos of a cool Land Rover rolling down the road. We're going to do some more long form videos, which I'm excited about this year. And then we're doing an event in December in Charleston, our hometown, just a Land Rover gathering. If you're in the general area, we'd love to have you. It's not a bad place to get out of the cold for you guys. If you want to come south, it's a quick flight, breeze area. Give them a shout out.
Oh, you got to drive down. That's a better way to do it.
Drive your Land Rover, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I'm moving you into the rover porn category because you all your builds and all the video and all the everything. It's just so well done. I think if you're just looking for that aspirational, you want to reconnect with Land Rover a little bit. Maybe it's yours is not doing well at the moment. You're like, pull up Himalaya and check out rover porn. Hope that's okay.
Yeah, I love it. We'll have the patina stuff and the nicely painted. It's a little bit for everybody. Whatever we'll have it.
My only complaint, there's no Freelander.
There's no Freelander, yeah. Hopefully the Discovery first. So if anyone listening wants to restore a Discovery 1, we're in.
You need to import one from the UK. They started in 96, so we're 96, 98. So it's close to your cutoff time.
Yeah, we bring in containers often, so I'll bring that up with Rob next. Doing Freelander.
Thanks again, Rob. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me.
We hope you enjoyed show number 127. Thanks to our guests this month, Christian HERRMAN and Greg Shondel, for talking with us this month. I recommend you go out and check out Christian's YouTube page. He has walk-arounds and more about his adventures going on there. Of course, we'll have a link in the show notes to his YouTube. And thanks to the One True Packs for his continued production support. And thanks to Harold, Morgan, and Dixon, even though he couldn't make it today.
Thanks for having me as always.
Up there in wonderful Vermont.
I just have to add one thing really quickly, and that is that this month has slipped by so quickly. And because it was so nice, here we are at the end of October. All the Class 4 roads are closed to traffic coming November 1st. And I haven't gotten out on any of them. And the weather is still ideal for getting out on them.
So they don't need to be closed. It's just a calendar thing?
Yeah, because typically by November, there's enough of a frost has hit, at least in the higher elevations, that they just don't want people up there tramping around.
So perhaps with climate change, they might start to relax that date a little bit.
Yeah, and the other part of it is that a lot of the Class 4 roads get shared with like VAST, the snowmobile trail network and stuff like that. So they get to a period where they just don't want people in vehicles in areas where the snowmobiles will be out shortly and are prepping trails and stuff.
Plus, I suspect with hunting season, they don't want people up there driving around getting shot at.
That's a big part of it too, for sure. And there are plenty of people who live off of these Class 4 roads, so they're still accessible to residents, but a large portion are like camps.
Do the police patrol those Class 4 roads, or is it just if they happen to find you there, or you call because you need recovered or something, then they...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If somebody were to report you, they don't patrol. There are certain Class 4 roads. There's one that I highly suggest people take, which is the Natural Turnpike, which is just an absolutely beautiful drive.
I like the name.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you pay your toll in acorns?
Pretty much, but just from the squirrels throwing them at you.
The squirrels have opposable thumbs?
I guess I should say dropping them on you.
Whoa, okay, gotcha. They're that smart.
Yeah.
Perhaps if they gripped it on a line.
I'll now add a link in the show notes to the Natural Turnpike. It's a scenic route running from South Lincoln to Bread Loaf, Vermont, also known as Forest Route 54 or Southern Lincoln Road. It offers sweeping views of the major northern Green Mountain peaks like Mount Grand, Mount Wilson, Bread Loaf, and Boyce Mountain. The scenic route is a smooth gravel route with easy curves that make it a delightful drive.
Yeah, it's really just a dirt road, but this is one of the ones that they gate off. And it's also it runs through part of the northern section of the Green Mountain National Forest. So it's also forest land. So that's another reason that they gate this particular one off.
And that's thanks to Andy Arthur. We'll credit him with those words.
So we have 3 days to go check it out.
Yes.
Actually, no days, because by the time this comes out, it'll have been past. You'll have a couple hours, exactly. Maybe. We post a new podcast at the end of every month. Our website, Centresteer.com, has our past shows to listen to, and also show notes with links for the stories we discussed in today's podcast. You can directly support the podcast at patreon.com/Centresteer. You can buy a t-shirt, sticker, or even buy us a tea/brown water. Visit our website for all those details. And if you have an idea for a guest, send us the details and the contact information if you have it. Thank you for listening. We'd love to hear from you and what you're up to in your Land Rover.
On behalf of the entire crew here at the Centresteer podcast, I'd like to thank you all for listening today. We know you have a choice when it comes to your podcast content, and we do appreciate your choosing us. Please take a moment to look around you for any personal items you may be leaving behind, especially in the overhead bins. Remember, some items may have shifted during the show. Please watch your step on the way out, and you may now resume your important things.
When dropped the oil, it's not a problem. When no more dropped the oil, then I have a problem.